I think most of you might be knowing me. So today we are all here to have the 3-day event in Nairobi. So we are starting with the sales bootcamp, which is today and tomorrow for partners. So just a recap of what has happened the last year. We had local events in Nairobi as well as in Dar es Salaam. We had 3 people joining in from Frappe, which is me, Rushabh, as well as Hussein. So we had a local meetup, and we saw the community being very close-knit. And to our surprise, it has grown over the last year quite a lot. And today, of course, we have a very small community right now today, but we will have a lot of people joining in tomorrow as well. So having said that, let me tell you what we are going to be covering today. And then we can also have a quick round of introduction with everyone, and everyone can introduce themselves. So what to expect for the next 2 days? So we are planning to have this session primarily to help our partners hone their sales skills and to build an excellent sales organization, and to hone skills so that you can close deals, be it SMB, be it enterprise on ERP Next, as well as on Frappe products. So that would be our focus line. And with me, we have our entire team in Frappe, which is around 8 people joining us today, today in Nairobi. So 4 of us are, of course, here in this hall itself, and 4 of us are in downstairs in the FF training. So let's start with a quick round of introduction. So we'll start with the schedule for day 1 and day 2, what we are going to be covering. So we'll start off how to pitch ERP Next as well as Frappe Cloud. The session will be taken by Neha, and it will be a more interactive session where we'll understand that how you are even pitching ERP Next or Frappe products right now in the market, how you're positioning the product. So it will be really good insights that when you are also sharing what we are also going to be sharing with you. So then we'll just break for a refreshment break, followed by we'll be having lead generation strategy discussion, followed by sales strategy as well, which will be taken by both Neha as well as Smithal. Then we'll have lunch, and then we'll have a session by Yusuf. He's from ERP Champions Limited. They are our bronze partner, and we'll have a demo session. So he'll be providing us details of how a perfect ERP Next demo looks like. We'll take a use case and we'll be showing the demo for it. Followed by, we'll be having a session on pricing and implementation best practices, which is going to be conducted by Umair, where we are going to be covering of how you can do scoping of project, how can you use the price estimation tool. So that will be the broad aspects of it, and then we will have a quick break, and followed by we'll get some tips from Mendrin on how he has closed recent NPO deals, and then we'll close by giving you all a case study. We'll have 3 case studies which we have. We'll talk about it at the end. We have already created 3 case studies where we'll give that to you so that you can give us a quick demo, a quick mock maybe tomorrow. That's how our day 2 also starts, that partners can give us demos. We'll see how we can team up the partners as well. So all of you can give us a quick brief on those things. Then we break for lunch, and then we'll have a meetup where we understand what are your challenges, what you're facing in your markets, how we can address it, how we can collaborate more, and then we'll have a session on enterprise sales, which will be taken specifically by Smithal. So that's how the day 2 also looks like. Over to you.
All right, thanks Ankita. Welcome again. So we had put together a very high quality sales training program, but yesterday when I spoke with a few partners, I realized that even before that there are certain 101s that I wanted to cover in terms of sales practices. So my first question is, how many of you have a sales head, like somebody focused on sales? It could be you, by the way, which is fair. But then you're not the person who's doing all the other things, implementing, developing, everything, right? So how many of you have a sales head or a sales owner or a sales rep? You have? Not yet. Okay, clearly. So I think even before, like, usually the first question is who, not how. So today you learn a lot about how to do good sales, but the core problem that half of you clearly are struggling with the who. So I think the first step is to find the person who is going to help you in this whole journey of sales. I think the next question that I want to ask is, this might be a very rudimentary and a shocking question, but still a very important question. How many of you use a CRM to track your leads, to track the stages, to do follow-ups, to send emails? Okay, Muchai. Yeah, this is like hygiene, right? I don't think this is what we are going to explain in this session. But what we do in Frappe, we track month-on-month leads passed to the partners, both generated by the partners or by Frappe, and then conversions. That's a simple, like, what is your current lead to conversion? What is your current demo to conversion? That's an engine, right? That firstly you have to measure, because if you can't measure, you can't improve it. So that is point number 2, which is if you have a CRM, are you tracking sales efficiency? Are you measuring sales quality? Can somebody tell me what does a sales quality mean? Any ideas? So the one thing that we have in Frappe is, after anybody reaches out to us inbound or we reach out to them, after 15 days or 30 days, we send out a feedback form. How was your experience working with the sales team? Did you find them knowledgeable, helpful? And we track that every month. We have a rating, average rating for sales feedback form. And then we go deep into, why did somebody give you a low rating? Why did we miss replies on this, right? Those are the things that we cover in sales quality. I think many of you mentioned, since a lot of you are new to Frappe, how do you even pitch ERP next? So we have put together an introductory deck of Frappe products and how to pitch ERP next. I'll just run through that, and you can use those pointers, promise engine, those positioning to position ERP next to your customers. And let's make it as interactive as possible. I think my first 5 minutes is like everybody staring at me. I don't know. I'm not a salesperson. Firstly, before even we start, a huge credits to Krishank Pawar. He's actually the person who's put together. He's already done a lot of in-person trainings in India, and I've just crystallized all the best things from that training to you. Krishank Pawar has worked with 2 of our gold partners in India. He is ex-Oracle, worked there for 6 years, and now he's been with ERP Next for 6 years. He's trainer by profession, by passion, but he also does implementations in Middle East and India. So he's the reason we've crystallized all the best learnings, and we are putting it forward to you. So yeah, please keep it interactive, because I think I have a lot to learn from you rather than the other way around, to be very honest. Okay, so a lot of you usually start selling ERP Next as a solution. I don't think many customers even fully know ERP Next in many cases. They just know, okay, there's a problem, I've gotten it solved. But we all usually recommend you to put forward the brand, the company, for a long-term promise. Most customers want a long-term promise. They need a brand. They want to understand who is Frappe, who are the customers. For multiple reasons, right? So I think there's some issue with the screen. Okay, so usually we start by sharing the count of customers we have over the last 17 years of operations, close to 10,000 customers globally. GitHub stars also builds a lot of credibility with a lot of technical decision makers. Then pitching the whole developer community, which is the discuss.frappe.io, where we have community support, community developers ready to help, also helps. You might think, hey, why do I tell my customer this? But being completely open about the power of community is something that is going to build trust with the customer, and hence for you as well. And then I think the channel partners, it's important to also mention that, hey, I'm just one of the partners. This product is so good. Its global partner network helps enterprises specifically realize that, hey, I'm going to get support. Like it's not just going to be, one partner dependency, which is positive thing, right? I don't think it is in any way negative as long as it builds trust with the customers. Yeah, people know us because of ERP Next, but a lot of customers don't know that we have plethora of other apps which have been built on top of the Frappe framework itself. The reason we built out a lot of apps, I don't think that's important for the customers to know, but I think customers do appreciate looking at this and saying like, hey, okay, I'm just going to start with, say, a solution, but I can move into business insights. I can replace my Power BI. I can replace my Metabase if possible. Eventually, I can move into Frappe HR, CRM, Builder. So it just builds a lot of more confidence in the customer that, hey, I can land, but I have so much more. I can build so much more after that. Okay, let's come to ERP Next. How many of you have customers in ERP Next? Greater than like at least one customer using ERP Next? Almost everyone except you're new, but Pointers Hub has customers, and then you're still new, right? Okay, I know this is like too heavy and you'll be like, what? I think even before pitching ERP Next, I think the first thing that I've always heard salespeople tell me that never pitch the product, just understand the problem from the customers. Don't just say like, I have this. But I think there comes a point where this also matters, right? This also matters that ERP Next is extremely comprehensive. Usually people who are NetSuite users or SAP users, the first doubt they have is, because it's free and open source, it might not have something, it might not have this, that. I think just positioning it with confidence and throwing them everything that we have, especially with enterprises, builds a lot of trust. So for each of the modules, all the sub-modules, so that is point number one, comprehensive. And the second is powerful. Most enterprises look for API friendliness, mobile friendliness on all screens, roles and permissions, approval workflows, very simple approval workflows that you can set up, customizability in reports, dashboards, multi-subsidiary, multi-currency, document management. This adds a lot of weight to what a great ERP today probably does, the customers don't have and will potentially move to. And then the agility, right? With the web framework that we have, the Frappe framework, it's so easy to customize small things, build anything else, replace all the other third-party apps that a customer has slowly and steadily. That promise also lands well with the customers. Ready to integrate third-party apps on the marketplace of Frappe Cloud, and scalability. And all-in-one, because most small businesses have different apps that they use for different things. We've been reached out by customers who are using Zoho, as well as multiple other tools like Zoho for CRM, accounting they are doing in SAP and stuff like that. So all-in-one, no per user, and user-friendly. But when it comes to large enterprises, the same pitch will not be as effective. And there are certain other things that really matter. The number one is the total cost of ownership, not just the licensing fee, but over time, the cost you end up paying with SAP or a Microsoft Dynamics or a Odoo, the total cost is going to be much lesser. Customizability, and notice one thing, like I did not mention customizability for small businesses, right? Because even if it's the best thing ERP Next offers, it's usually not as important for them, right? Ending the vendor lock-in. So if today somebody is already using SAP and they've now been asked to go to S4HANA because that's where you have the best features, AI features and whatnot coming up, it's kind of like a lock-in, right? So no vendor lock-in given open source, scalability and security, the security benefits of open source. That usually works really well with large enterprises. Cool, any questions? Perfect. On YouTube, we do have certain videos. So a lot of times when somebody is like just in the intent or awareness phase, not really actively looking, these kind of videos really help educate them. And I will share this document with everyone, and you can utilize these videos to share on WhatsApp, to share with people, even put it up on your website to highlight all the features of the product. We have it for Frappe HR as well as ERP Next. All right, I think once somebody is sold on ERP Next, the next big challenge is why Frappe Cloud, right? Okay, maybe I'll ask around the table and maybe I'll start with Mujai this time. How do you introduce Frappe Cloud? How do you pitch Frappe Cloud? And what works for you?
The way we introduce Frappe Cloud. Number one, let me say, since you have been in the market for a while, we tend to be a bit strict on people choosing Frappe Cloud. The reason we are a bit strict on it is because initially before Frappe Cloud showed up, we used to host on DigitalOcean. And I kind of know what it takes to manage a site on, say, DigitalOcean, for example, other than Frappe Cloud. So the first thing, of course, is to sell the value. Most users, if they are not very technical, they go for Frappe Cloud the minute you show them. Even if they are technical, the minute you open the interface and you start showing them, for example, then immediately they love a buy-in. Because you need to go to the interface, show them backups, show them the analytics. As in, show them what they'll be losing if they chose the alternative. Give a simple example, for example, a simple update. And Frappe releases the updates like on a weekly basis. The example I normally give is, assuming you want to update a site, for example, for a large customer, you need to have like a separate environment, you need to test that update kind of flow smoothly. Then you need to schedule a particular period at night, most likely, to go and update that site. But you see, what we do on Frappe Cloud, for example, you click on an update, and then you just do it, and then Frappe will schedule at night. Like, that is such a simple thing. Hopefully we have, but yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mujai.
That's how we approach it.
Thank you so much, Mujai. I think just to repeat what you said, for small businesses, you typically don't have to sell it. They're like, okay, I'm okay with any hosting. Or you're like, this is the hosting that works. But people who care, the technical experts, it's just good to show the product itself, how easy it is to back up, how easy it is to upgrade. Even discover and update is a challenge without, like, discovery as well as actually performing the upgrade is so much more easier. And we'll cover a deeper session on Frappe Cloud very soon. The other thing is also compute-based pricing. Right? Unlike any other SaaS tool which has a per user per month pricing, even Odoo SH claims to have a compute-based pricing, but that's also on a very premium side, and they have a different licensing per user fee also. So Frappe Cloud is only compute-based pricing. Usually it helps for a non-technical user to see this kind of a comparison, that Odoo is close to $14 per user per month. Zoho is $50, Zoho One is $50 per user per month, right? And as your users grow from 100 users to 500 users, you're going to pay through the roof, right? If you choose any of these products. But with ERP Next on Frappe Cloud, hosting is not going to be grow linearly as your employees grow, number one. And hosting in general is significant, like compute in general is significantly lesser priced than per user per month. That's why they make 90% gross margins, right? Like that's why these are highly valued companies, because of their gross margins. But we only do a compute based pricing. So that also helps. And this is a clear saving, right? The clear saving in terms of the licensing fee. Okay. I think many of you are already aware of Frappe framework. How I think even if the customers don't necessarily need to know, it helps that you can position that hey, you know, I can do all of these things easily because the product is very modular. It helps me because of all of these batteries included. It's very easy to customize, tweak, and build workflows from scratch. So with Frappe framework, one can do a complete product development from scratch. They can build internal apps and workflows, replacing any other third-party SaaS tools that they might have. As well as with Frappe Marketplace, you can even create and list down an app on the Frappe Marketplace, by the way. These customers don't need to know, but I think that's something that you should know. You can even create your own app and list it down on Frappe Cloud Marketplace. Cool. Next is Frappe HR. I'll quickly jump through this. In terms of Frappe services, I already covered Frappe Cloud. Frappe also offers an enterprise support plan. So if any of your customers, in addition to hosting, need a third-party, an OEM warranty and enterprise support, we have a special enterprise support package where we help them with consulting related to scalability, technical consulting, as well as any other L3 level warranty, any other changes to the core product. Those are the things we promise to offer for those large enterprises. And then we also have Frappe School. Cool. I won't go too deep into this. I'll share this with you. You can always use this demo video and share it with your customers to show how easy it is to do upgrades. I won't play it right now. As Muchai said, showcasing all of these benefits of how easy it is to do UI-based deployment, upgrade, backup, logs, access control, which your current self-hosted DigitalOcean will not offer, is a clear way to highlight benefits for Frappe Cloud. All right, I'll cover this, I'll skip this. I think we've covered a lot. I'll share this deck with you. But yeah, I'll just recap what we discussed. For small businesses, user-friendly, all-in-one, and what was it? No per user, right? And for enterprises, lesser total cost of ownership, scalability, security, customizability, and ending vendor lock-in. These are the 3 promise engines and couple of promise engines that work. All right, this was the first session we had on how to pitch Frappe products. Any questions, feedback, anything else that you've been doing which has been working? Right, up until now, we did not have discounts for entry partners, but we did have for bronze, silver and gold. Bronze partners get a 5% discount, used to get. Silver partners used to get 10% discount, and gold used to get 15% discount on the price. Like they'll get a discounted invoice. And on 1st of February, we've announced the new discounts. So entry partners get 10% now. Bronze get 15, silver get 20, and gold get 25. I think we will clap. We've just announced it, and if you're not active on partners.frappe.io, Rushabh also posted about it, I think yesterday. And I think some of you have already received those discounts on your new invoice. So that's one, but usually these discounts are not the main reason partners come. Like partners are like, that's like, anyway the compute pricing is only that less that these discounts. In fact, some partners are like, you don't give us these discounts, Frappe, you invest in marketing. You invest in marketing, brand building. Half the partners were against it. Since we've started making profits this year, decent profits, we decided to invest it back to the partners because we believe that's where the growth will come from, which is why we are doing these trainings, these discounts. So I hope that answers your question. Awesome. Let's move ahead. The next one is my favorite presentation because I can talk more with conviction because that's more about the marketing, not sales. Let's open the lead generation. Okay, great. Again, let's do a quick round again. How do you currently generate your leads? And I know because I've spoken to Muchai and people who are here for 2-3 years in this business have a strong word of mouth kicking in, and references is how they generate most leads. But apart from references, how are you currently generating leads? Maybe we can skip the mic. You can just shout out like, how are you generating leads?
More leads, yeah.
Thank you, Smita. All right. I think one of the things we've seen, most of our Frappe partners are very organic growth driven. They're like, I don't want speed, I want quality. And that's also how Frappe is somehow, right? That's something in Frappe's DNA as well. But I think somehow, it's time that we also switch that up a little bit, if not a lot, which is why we are putting a lot of efforts in our Frappe's marketing as well. I think it's really important to be out there. You're not selling, you're bridging the gap, right? And just seeing building a marketing engine of a consistent lead flow. Let's say today, 5 leads per month are getting generated through whatever means, webinars, whatnot. Making sure that number is growing to 10, 15, 20 per month. Like at least having a goal that my monthly lead gen should be 30. For some reason, even measuring that every month, right? That hey, I want to generate 30 leads a month. Now, a lot of the activities you do will pay off 1 year later. Like a lot of webinars get views, thousands of views 1 year later and generate consistent leads. And trust me, it's magical, the consistency with which videos can generate lead over longer duration, especially when you are the first person showing up for a particular topic. But it's a patient journey, and firstly you need to commit to papers, but they are a high commitment but high ROI tool of content. We already spoke about webinars. You'll be surprised to know that at least in India, we have at least I know of at least 3 to 4 partners who are really playing the webinar game really, really well. One of them is Software at Works. Some of their videos have like 30,000, 25,000 views over 2 to 3 years usually. So they also do, by the way, paid webinars. A lot of times on specific topics you feel are more valuable, you can say that, hey, I'll do paid webinars and I'll send my paid webinar to all my older leads, right, who've gone, at least somebody is again interested. The things that we do webinar are on features, but you can do webinars on solutions that you've built, right? And the tool that we use is Zoom webinar. Zoom is super awesome because it helps you with everything from registration, automatic reminders, live on-demand video, everything. So Zoom is a good tool to do webinars. Success stories, I won't talk too deeply, we've already spoken about it. Frappe.io has a stories page, I'll open it quickly. So we have close to 90 stories listed from across the globe. And because the internet is poor, you can filter it by region, filter it by industry, filter it by modules, filter it by products. You can always send this page also to your customers. You can run some filters on, say, all the African implementations and then send this link to your customers because referenceability helps, right? Okay, comparisons. So a lot of times, especially customers in the evaluation phase, not in the awareness or interest phase, evaluation phase are looking for comparisons. And this is a very high intent lead that you can catch because they are like already comparing ERP Next with something else that they are currently using or evaluating. We have very less number of partners who've put up blogs on comparisons and they list up on top, like if somebody compares Odoo with ERP Next, there are these 3-4 partners who've written high quality articles, they come up on top today, right? Similarly, there are other partners who are writing about Zoho versus ERP Next, not just writing, by the way, this can even be videos because people like to watch comparison videos. This is a great content to invest in. Again, in content, most of you will be thinking, I need the person who will do this, right? So I think eventually the problem boils down to who, not how. So you probably need if you're really serious about lead gen, probably hire, say, 1 year, 2 year experience, or even a fresher is fine. Somebody like a fresher who gets this guidance can go work around and build some content for you. Yeah, this is a great example. The reason I'm putting this under flux event is, see, every country goes through a specific change event, right? A compliance getting mandated. That's when you speak about that content. Usually that really lands well. Like say a VAT is getting introduced or specific e-invoicing is getting introduced in Malaysia recently, I heard. Talking about that, you be the first one somebody searches for, say, a e-invoice compliance software. You should be the first one that comes up on Google. So talking about flux events could also be budget announcements, anything that really changes the way customers have to do something, write about those things. Okay, we've spoken about content, let's now speak about channels. And before inorganic, a lot of people are like, oh, let's go put money, do ads. No, there is so much you can do without putting any money into marketing, which is what I'm going to talk about, which is organic lead generation. Why organic lead generation? You don't have to spend, it has a long-term ROI. It's beautiful. Organic is always better than inorganic in my view. So let's talk about all the channels for your organic marketing. Number 1 is website. Most of us don't have a very good website. Your website is your virtual sales person, right? Are you talking about all your products and services? Are you talking about your team, your vision, culture? Because at least mid to large customers usually don't buy what you sell, they buy why you sell it or what's your story, right? Having a great website is absolutely essential. If you don't have a good website, don't do anything else. Just first get your website right. Put trust markers like the Frappe logo, that you are an authorized partner right on top, that you are an authorized partner. This is one example of our gold partner, New Indic Trans. Make sure that it is visible on your website. Most people also have a clear visibility of why ERP Next on their website, right? Because through you, people are also learning about ERP Next, about open source. So have all those listed on your website. Okay, the next one is LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a lot about personal branding. Okay, it's less about selling, it's about sharing your story. How many of you are active on LinkedIn? Or at least post regularly once in 3 months, once in 2 months? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. I think LinkedIn is very underestimated. It has a network effect. Once you put something on LinkedIn, not only your connections see it, the people who like or comment, their connections see it, and the impressions grow through the roof. And it's a professional community, right? So LinkedIn, building a personal brand is important. No matter what you post from a company account, ideally people in your team should be posting about building their own personal brand. Like you should be a personal brand, your salesperson should be a personal brand, slowly getting built. Your marketing person should be their own personal brand, and your company should just share stories, repost those stories from people is how we do LinkedIn. Usually hashtags work for better discovery. I think needless to say, many of you might already know this, but use appropriate hashtags. These are just some examples. Like Vivek Digambarnath had done an event. We had done a Jitex stall in Dubai, and he posted a really nice story and a LinkedIn story about people, right? And he got huge impressions and reposts and comments. Similarly, Krishank, I spoke to you about Krishank, right? He's the trainer who helps us with trainings. He keeps writing about open source, about benefits, and he's built his own personal brand. He writes less frequently, but it's pretty high quality. And Frappe, we keep posting a lot of people stories. Some of you might already have seen it, but those things really work for LinkedIn. Next is YouTube. I think our product is complex. We all agree. And you need somebody who's really genuinely interested needs a video format, because you cannot, just somebody seeing the product in action is usually the best way to sell it. So on YouTube, you can have product demos put up, you can have customer testimonials put up, comparisons, reels. Reels is, none of our partners do reels, even Frappe, we don't do reels. But I'll give you an example. So this is a account called Retail Daddy. It's an Indian Keralite person who posts about this software product, POS product called Retail Daddy. He has thousands of views, lakhs of views in each reel. And what he does is just scans the barcode and say how easy it is, and he's very loud and very flashy, and it's very viral, right? Those videos go very viral. These are some really high quality success stories that Muchai has put up on YouTube, and I really thought it deserves to be set as an example, because he's gone and shot those videos with customers, interviewing them, videographing their premise, and so on. That's very high quality, by the way. And then this is an example of somebody named Manan Shah, who's been in the ecosystem for a long time, but has recently become a partner. I think he posted some interesting videos on ERP Next 5 years ago, and today he has consistent views on them, and today he has a consistent lead generation from these videos, like 3, 4, 5 years ago. So posting videos about, say, how do you set up GST in ERP Next, or how do you do ERP Next manufacturing production plan, right? Specific topics, those pay off really well. Cool, newsletter. So how many of you, by the way, regularly reach out to your existing customers? At least once a year. I'm setting a lowest bar right now. Like once a year, how many of you send an email? 1, 2. See, many of you don't. Newsletters are an excellent way of having a consistent communication with your existing customers, as well as see your older lost customers also, like your entire lead gen as a Frappe partner, or as a software or an ERP provider. Newsletters are an opportunity to keep sharing more information with your customers. At least have a quarterly cadence to send a newsletter to your customers, educating them, engaging with them, and telling them new things that you've been doing. That could be an upsell opportunity. And it's also very scalable, because one newsletter is so much better than having a dedicated enterprise CSM team who's going and engaging. At least start with a newsletter. Okay. Email marketing is also a very underestimated organic lead generation channel. Email marketing, either you can start off with your existing leads of your past, or you can buy databases, email databases. But even in email marketing, don't just start with, hi, I'm selling this, are you interested for a call? Your subject line, how you start in your email really matters. Right? Your subject lines very basic subject line like, hey, streamline your operations with ERP Next, it's not even going to get opened. Having very clear call to action, become ZATCA compliant in 1 month, or reduce software sends by 80% with open source. Those are the kind of subject lines that are going to ensure people open up the emails. Okay. Let's talk about the basics of search engine optimization. It's a topic which can go very detailed, but the basics of search engine optimization is anything that you post using the URL, using the content, metadata, keywords, and certain images, you are going to be discoverable to the people out there, right? That's what is search engine optimization. This is the lowest effort, the top part, right? Maybe there are a lot of other technical things that you need to do right, but at least the on-page SEO, the basics, bare minimum have to be right. I'll give you an example. I tried searching, let's try searching ERP Next in Nairobi and let's see how many of you show up.
No, in Africa.
Okay, let's do it in Africa only. How do you do incognito in Windows? Incognito, okay, I can do it from here only. By the way, there's somebody who's, we are going to have a legal notice sent to them. Yeah. Are they a partner, Ankita? No. This is us. Yeah. This is us. Envision IT, partner. MMC Africa, not a partner. None of you are showing up. So that's the learning. Like, this is the least, like your title, your URLs and your titles should be optimized to be able to search here. Like, people are going to search here. The first thing that people do is search on Google, ERP Next partners in Africa.
Let's try Kenya.
Akik is showing up, by the way. Good. Okay, next is in Kenya, right? Nawari. Okay, nice. Yeah, some of these things actually you don't have to do it also, it's the basics. Yeah, but most of our partners don't do it. Like, they don't optimize for the hyper local locations. Like, if you put ERP Next in Ahmedabad, the top 3 are not Frappe partners. So this is something we have to keep telling our partners that, you know, this is the most high intent search keyword that you should be coming up on top for. Okay, so what are high intent keywords? Making sure for ERP Next, you have content for ERP Next in either your location or your city. The next high intent keyword is open source, free software. Writing about open source CRM, open source alternatives. Don't go directly for ERP Next, but use open source alternatives or open source CRM as the keywords. Those are high intent keywords. Comparisons of ERP Next, those are high intent things to write about, right? Those are things people search. How-to queries are also good SEO optimized content, like how to host on ERP Next, how to host on Frappe Cloud, how to migrate from Tally to ERP Next, how to integrate M-Pesa, and those are also the things that you can write about. And then there are certain mid to low intent. If you have the time, if you have the team, you can even talk about those things, which is ERP software in Kenya. It's just hard to come up on the top 10 because a lot of people are writing about it. But if you write a good content, it might just show up on top. So that is going to unlock a lot of leads for you if you can come on the top for these keywords. Yeah, this is just an example. So for ERP Next in Nairobi, I had tried searching. You did not come up for Nairobi, by the way. So something to take away. And then ERP Next versus Zoho, only one of the article is from our partner, not the top 2. So those are things that our partners should be writing about. All right, any questions? I hope all of these things, some of these things you're going to take note of and fix. So if you want to do a better quality understanding of what to write about, there is Google Keyword Planner. You can use that. It can help you understand for various keywords, what are the average monthly searches and what is the competition. So the sweet spot is something that is highly searched and low competition. If that you can find, you should write about that, right? If something is highly searched and low competition keyword. But usually highly searched are going to be high competition. So if you can find something early, you can always start writing about those things. So you can use this tool to find out topics to write about. Okay. The next organic lead gen channel is joining and engaging with FOSS communities. So if you, because FOSS communities are already sold on the benefits of open source. So you don't have to educate them about why open source. That's the one thing that you're going to really get easy. For example, UK has this open UK forum. They send newsletters. They have a very good community, and they even lobby with the government to have better practices and better open source adoption. And I've put some more, but I think, are there FOSS communities in Africa active? Which are those?
There's open source Africa, which has chapters in various countries. And I think they are big active, but we don't get involved. I'll mention it there.
Okay. Anybody else knows about any open source communities in Africa? No. Okay, cool. So I think in these communities also, I think the whole transactional or salesy approach doesn't work. So somehow you find a way to contribute, add value, and build meaningful connections. That really helps. As Muchai said, if you have an app, put it up on Marketplace, Frappe Cloud Marketplace. This is an excellent discovery of lead gen as well, because a lot of people try and search apps, then try and find a way that, oh, this app helps, and then they try and reach out to you to get to give you more business. So we have apps, 200 plus apps listed across multiple categories. So if you have any productivity app or any compliance app, do post it on the marketplace. The next is Frappe listing. It's an organic lead gen because people go on the ERP Next website to check and find partners. So today we have a first class listing for bronze and above partners. That's also a pretty organic lead gen channel. Okay. One thing that actually Krishank educated us about is, on your website, a lot of times people are not completely sold on, I need an ERP. So you can start offering a health check as a service or a health check as a report. So I'll show you a sample report. Especially works for people who are not clear about why now. They are like, okay, this looks interesting, but they are not like nudged to do the action now. Why now? Usually if you've answered why this product and why now, that's when you get a sale. So as a part of this health check engagement, offer a 1 week assessment. I'll send my person to your location. I can assess all the processes and your current software and come up with a report, like a very professional report of, hey, this is what I found. This is the current context of the customer, and understanding their entity structure, and then finally going into assessment and recommendations. Like, for example, in accounting practices, unable to create actual financial structure on existing ERP. That's a pain point, right? It's a pretty medium to high impact observation. Similarly, if you speak about buying process, supplier management, right? There are no linkages between your invoice and suppliers. Like, that's a basic observation. That's a very high impact observation. So, and then subtly pitching how ERP Next can help you with this product. So it's an interesting thing. Some of our partners do offer it. They offer a health check assessment. It could be paid, it could be free, but this is an excellent lead generation strategy as well. At least if they are not nudged to do now, they will always, the first thing they will think of is, if they want to do a digital transformation, is they will reach out to you. If not in now immediately, but after 3 to 6 months. Cool. That's it. That was all I had for organic lead generation. What were your best ideas that you heard today, or which is the one that is most compelling? You've said an excellent point there. I think we did not put a lot of weight to it, but I think knowledge is the best way to build trust, right? To build content that can build trust, to say the right thing that can build trust, and there's no substitute to knowledge and experience. Yeah, cool. Let's talk about inorganic. This will be a short one and then we can break for tea. Inorganic, the thing about inorganic lead gen is, once you crack a channel, then you get predictable results. So there is a process it takes to crack a channel. right? And you really need to be invested in cracking that channel. Typically, people measure the customer acquisition costs, CAC. And if you can find the right channel which can get you lead in a lower customer acquisition cost, that's when then you put more money, then it's an engine that works. But to build that engine, it's hard. So firstly, let's talk about ads. Now, when you do ads, a lot of times people just use these keywords, right? Revolutionize your business, streamline your business. Your ad copies matter a lot, right? Because you're spending so much money, right? As Quresh said, he almost made up for the cost. I think the copies, we don't, like, these are very generic copies to go for. And this is a learning that Krishank shared. Typically, if you look at good ads, they sell value. They sell benefits, and they sell specific things, right? For example, I just came across this ad. I don't know what this product does, but they are selling a story, like this customer improved something by some percent. That's an ad that works. It's a human ad, right? Similarly, if you see people selling benefit rather than selling the product or features. So those are the ads which we recommend our partners. If you really do want to invest, your copies have to really hit it. It has to be really, it should nudge them to take an action. I don't have any more knowledge on ads. Maybe speak with Quresh, ask for him during, if you're really interested in doing paid ads, how to do them, and Quresh can share more. But I think, yeah, the copies is something I've noticed and I want to share. Sell benefit, sell value, don't sell features. Don't use these generic terms in your ads. You're wasting money. Next is referral partnerships. I'm putting this in inorganic, but this is also partly organic, right? Do you have a network of people who can build leads for you? They might be currently selling something else, like a complementing product, a non-ERP, but they are selling ultimately to businesses. So they can be a good lead gen channel, and you can give away some commissions to them, like say 10% of your overall implementation fee if somebody comes through that channel. We know partners in India who have networks in the US, in the Middle East. They have networks everywhere. Like they have networks and then they get leads also. So that's also a second channel you can explore. I don't know how to build these leads. Typically your years of experience and connections help you there. But sometimes even Discuss Forum helps. Like even you can find leads on Frappe's own community channels and build channel partnerships through Frappe's own channel. Cool. Trade shows. I think there is one happening in Nairobi in a week. Trade shows are a great paid lead generation channel. Frappe hasn't been actively investing in it, but we tried doing one in Jitex. Some of our partners say that it's been working well, but I think local trade shows work a little better than very fancy large scale events. So if you have very local, hyper local manufacturing trade show, those are the things worth investing in because people are going to look for a solution there. There are certain clubs and networking forums like BNI. I searched, I think BNI is active in Africa also. It's an international community of businesses who give and take, who help others as well as get a boost for their own business as well. So BNI is a community, it's big in India, I don't know about Africa, but seems they have a few chapters here. Hoardings. Now, I know I've put Udu, I've seen in Nairobi as well, but I think hoardings in the right location are not a bad idea is what we've heard. So in Pune, there's this Chakan, there's this automobile manufacturing area where all the automobile manufacturing companies as well as ancillary products manufacture. One of the partners tried doing an ad in that and they got a very good return. So the location really matters, right? So if you can put up your hoarding or a very local newspaper ad in a proper something that manufacturing companies read, or say any company, any relevant customer of yours reads, then it makes sense. And then there are company databases that Quresh talked about. You can buy them and start doing outbound, right? You're calling team, hey, do you need this? I can help you with this, whatnot. But that requires a lot of it requires a big team who's doing the calling and everything. All right, thank you. That's all I had on lead generation strategies. Once somebody gets interested in a demo, they have entered the interest phase. This is when they are like showing some interest, like, yeah, I'm okay, I'm giving you time, I've given you an hour or two, they are in the interest phase. Here, the goal of our partners should be to showcase the product in action, because that's how customers get an idea of how they can solve the problem. This is when you show a demo, demonstrate industry features, educate people about open source, because they are still becoming interested at this point. The next phase that people go into is a decision phase. They are evaluating now. They are now getting more serious about, hey, now they'll start comparing with their existing tools. They'll start various personas in your client customers team will be talking about different things. The IT person will be talking about security, scalability. The procurement or the operations person will be talking about workflows, policies, and the finance person will be talking about budgets, ledger. So the goal of our partner should be to show persona-wise benefits, right? Make a personal connection with each persona in the sales team. Try and pitch them the right value based on the persona. Show the total cost of ownership reduction in this phase. Share testimonials in this phase. Perfect time to connect the customer with, let me connect you with one of my customers, right? Not just testimonials, but even getting them in touch with your existing customers helps. And then finally, the action phase. And how many of you usually get stuck in the last phase most of the times? The customer is not taking action. Majority, right? Most of us get stuck here. So usually, the problem about delay in action could be multifolds. Number one could be you've not even qualified them right? That's one thing you can fix upstream, because why have we invested all this time if we could have qualified and disqualified them initially itself? But let's say it's a qualified lead and ideally they should be taking action. It's like obvious they should go for the solution. So these are the things that can help you in the action phase to nudge them to action. Make sure you're customizing the proposal for them, right? Don't send them a generic proposal. Send them a customized proposal to the problems you've discovered during all these phases. Make sure you're highlighting in your communication, hey, I hope you know we offer after sales support, 6 months of free support or hypercare support, things like that. Nudge them to take the action. Innovate with your follow-ups. The other day, Parth from our sales team told me they used to do an innovative follow-up where the salesperson used to send a breakup email. How they orchestrated is, basically you make your boss write an email to you that, hey, stop chasing this customer, and then you write that email to the customer, hey, I've been told, now this is my last email to you. He has a good positive hit rate of these innovative follow-up emails that, hey, this is my last communication with you, right? I'm not going to talk to you anymore. And most often people reply then. I think the other goal is with enterprises, land with something. Like if the whole large digital transformation project quotation is not landing, then at least start with, hey, but you mentioned CRM was also a problem. Let's start with CRM. Land with something, get in action, get going. And finally, offer discounts, offer consulting. Because if people are self-implementers, you can always say, okay, you implement on your own. Let me offer you a 50-hour consulting package. I can come on a call and offer you consulting. Let them. That's also a funnel that can convert into an actual bigger customer. All right. So these are the things you can do in different parts of the sales funnel. We will be sharing a template with you with persona-wise, stage-wise, and industry-wise follow-up emails. So it's like 64 emails, 4 into 4 into 4. You can use them if you feel they are useful for your follow-ups. You can configure them in your CRM also. You can configure the stages in your CRM and ensure that automatic emails are going for that industry, that persona, and that stage of the customer. So those things, especially if you have high lead flow, those things can automate a lot of your effort. But at least start with sending these manually to begin with, right? Then configure it as an email template.
But I mean, this could be a right strategy for the enterprise or mid-enterprise customers, right? Just wanted to hear from you all that when you target an SME, where you don't have multiple stakeholders around it, where they doesn't care about TCO, or probably they don't want to know more about the probably comparison or something, right? How do you pitch them? It's something really we want to know from you. Any ideas which you would like to share?
Just want to add something there on that sector. There are times where you have to evaluate risk of the access with the prospect. I do recall I've left. I did not take two projects because after all this discussion, then I found the client is very risky because it's not committing enough in the project. then you might end up tarnishing your own name. So I don't know. It's an area that we also need to discuss, that we need to evaluate because sometimes the person wants the system just because somebody is pushing him at the back. Maybe they don't know the compliance or something else, but he's not committed with it. But then when it fails, then the partner you tarnish your own name. So I don't know how maybe people can share their thought and their experience, but it's an area of importance as well, especially if you're going to enterprise clients, where there's a lot at stake if the product doesn't sell.
So well, this could be a good recipe for a great closure, right? But since everybody started working with SME, because ERP Next itself started pitching as an SME product and then to mid-size and enterprise, right? I'm sure you might have cracked the right recipe for how to pitch an SME. Just wanted to hear from you because while we had a coffee, you had discussed something with us, so I can share something on that.
Yeah.
Just your story around it.
Yeah. So actually, when we started having the Google Ads, so what we did, we noticed that there are lots of advertisements coming up for Odoo and Zoho. So just we had put our keyword in the Google ad as Zoho and Odoo. So all the traffic of Odoo and Zoho SMEs were getting, we were getting the traffic, and we were definitely changing them into the mindset of Odoo and Zoho to ERP Next. So that's one of the strategies we followed, and yeah, we were successful.
Wow. Anyone like to share?
Okay. Yeah. So once you know the phase, I think what the next thing that usually matters is understanding the customer, right, and their industry better. So this is a framework that Krishank introduced, and I frankly love it. Whenever you get a customer, try and understand, it could be of 4 types, right? The first type is high maturity and high size. So these are all your large enterprises, the Fortune companies, probably the top 1,000 of your country, right? Do you think they are going to be ready to listen to you for any reason? Or do you think you can pitch them and sell ERP Next, like a broad question? Hard, right? Like, yeah, you were saying?
No, I was saying the bugs, I think they could listen to us. It's only that I'm not sure about their applicable. If they maybe Linux servers, probably you mentioned now open source ERP, I'm not sure. Okay, Safaricom, I doubt they never listen to us in the future.
See, most companies from this category are not going to listen to you, like, what's ERP Next? My procurement, my finance team wants SAP, I don't want to listen to you, right? And that's fair. I think usually only somebody who's already sold on ERP Next coming to you, it's very rare to find that case. Those people will listen to you, but somebody who doesn't know will not. So the focus in this case should be to land with some fit gap solution. Don't solve their most important problem. Don't pitch digital transformation to them. Just pitch a small little landing product like a help desk or a CRM, or get started with something, land with something. So these are the people you solve some problem with and integrate with their ERPs. So solve like a procurement workflow and integrate it with their SAP. Those are things that they'll be ready to listen to you, right? And at least in future, you can then slowly nudge them towards ERP Next. The second category, which is usually the favorite for sales teams, is the high size and low maturity businesses. These are family owned businesses, second generation businesses. They have usually very poor processes but a huge turnover. Those are quite frankly the favorites, because there's huge opportunity to add value to them, because they're already doing all the things in a very rudimentary manner. For them, I think it makes sense to pitch the entire digital transformation to them, because they will soon have to be ready for it. Especially the second generation business owners are open to listen to a full digital transformation. So that's what you pitch to these type of customers. Have you come across this type of customers? Is Kenya, have you come across? What has been your experience?
who shifted.
Oh, you are yourself example, right? So can you share your story about?
Just a brief about.
So about 20 years ago, we have a family business. So the family business was being run by the elders. Now when the children grow out of it, they go out and study. We studied in IT field, so then we started going into IT. But then family was running a trading business, and that time computers were still new. So there's a time the children picked up on the computers. Then they wanted a solution to run the trading business. So temporarily we started off with Excel, then build up Visual Basic 6 with Access. And then we saw that the solution is working out for us, so why not market it? So then we went into we were selling the same solution. Even right now, we're still selling the same solution, 20 years old, but we've been developing and reached up to a point where people can comfortably, the small business can comfortably run it. But now, those small businesses that bought these softwares 10 years ago have also grown. So now it made us also think that over time our solution may not work for them, and also will not work for ourselves. So that's the time we started looking for ERP solutions, and among Kushal did a lot of research, and what we came up was the ERP next was the best solution for us.
Nice.
But do you agree with the question? Is like, for an example, second generation business owners take a faster decisions when it comes to the implementing a newer system.
Yes, even in Kenya here, mostly the long-term established businesses are all run by basically old methods, the old school with orthodox thinking. But the moment the new generation comes in, they will want to digitize everything. Once they get the power to do it, it's straightforward. I'm sure they will all switch to digital.
Yeah. We've seen that a lot in India as well. Most of our second generation business owners they're open to hearing out open source and a better solution. So that works. Okay, the next is the high maturity and low size. These are also customers that I think we should focus on, even though they today don't have budgets, but they will eventually grow bigger. The customers you mentioned, some of your customers grew eventually, right? So these are people worth investing in. Usually they really like the all-in-one promise of ERP Next, because they don't like using multiple tools for their CRM and other things. So the all-in-one and no per user is something that works out for this category of businesses, because they will scale eventually, right? So these are people who are smart enough to scale eventually. And the next one is low size, low maturity. What do you do with them? Don't waste your time on them, right? Would everyone agree? The one thing that some customers offer is a self-implementation kit to them, like offer the whole Frappe school, courses, videos, and say I can give 10 hours for a paid consulting for you, say a $25 per hour or a $50 per hour, but you implement it, I can't help you. So that's a good way to help them get started on their own. Cool. Anything you want to add here, Smithal?
Yeah, but see, the thing is, I'm sure all the partners have identified themselves at which category they belong to, honestly, right? Some might be looking at this solution, reason being very simple, because they see high turnaround there, right? Immediately implementing a solution within a week or 10 days time, which is easy. Like, for an example, when you do a data migration for them from their old system or Excel, it's faster deployment there as well, or probably within a month's time you can deploy, right? Whereas this kind of accounts will take at least a year or two for a deployment, right? So higher turnaround is there. So some partners may work in that strategy as well, wherein which they want to have a quicker turnaround with the customers and maybe want to do 12, 15 projects or 30 projects in a year. Whereas some partners may only focus on this category, wherein which they only want to focus one large account, probably, right? And they want to grow in that sector. So it could differ based on their how they do the current. So for an example, some companies who are old enough, like 10 years old company, they are already into implementing ERPs or any other solution in the market, and now they've shifted to ERP Next. It's good that they fall in this category. But someone who has recently started doing ERP, they have to start with these categories and then grow to a level in which you come to an high maturity and high size kind of customers, So that depends on the business and that depends on the market as well.
And here, if you have huge volumes accessible in this category, then you can also offer success packs, which is vanilla implementations. Like no customizations, I'm just going to install a package for you, like similar to that, right? So those kind of things might still be profitable for partners. Cool, should we move on?
Actually, we can also combine both the strategies together.
Definitely.
Because the high maturity, basically, it's something, we can say it's a fortune. And the low size is our bread and butter.
Correct.
Combining it actually helps.
That helps.
So mix of both.
Yeah.
So probably this would run your business in a sustainable mode, right? And this will give you a growth of 5-year to 7-year growth. For an example, like if you see your company's growth 20% year on year, right? Then one big account will give you 5-year or 7-year of growth immediately within that 1 year. And this will give you more sustainable way of running the business, where you keep on adding more customers, keep on adding more team members as well, so that over less team members can support this kind of customers, and high team members, more number of team members can support the high maturity customers as well. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Who are the customers that you typically speak with? Who's a persona within the customer that you land with? Anybody wants to share? Is it a procurement team? Is it the CTO, or is it always mix? Usually it's finance.
Finance, okay. That's a good point.
Who else? Sorry.
I'm saying when I meet finance, I'm very happy. CFO, when I meet finance, I mean, wow. When I meet IT, yes. Okay.
What?
I'm like, chances of getting these are very low.
Okay.
Because IT is not, they're not really the customers of ERP sometimes.
Correct.
But finance really, when you speak, they hear you.
Perfect. So your strategy being you talk to a right finance person out there and try to showcase your accounting and finance capabilities. What is covered in ERP next? That's a right way of approach for you, right? Any other stories you'd like to share?
Yeah, I think I agree with him, but also I would add, in many companies you will find even the IT, they own the ERP and they own the decision of changing the ERP along with the finance. So even sometimes when you meet the finance, we are directly to the IT. So it depends. It's a mix and it's a mixture of yeah. Either you meet the finance or the IT, but yeah, you have to meet the correct decision maker. Yes, a bit high. Yes.
I didn't know IT. It's easier to convince a CFO than an IT, because I would have thought otherwise.
No, it is because the CFO actually. What are the the pain areas that the CFO is facing, or maybe the director is facing, or the board of directors? Actually, that is where you go and convince easier.
Because they are the business user, they are the buying basically. IT is always expenditure, right? They go with the cost, and these people have budgets. So if you try to convince those people saying that, hey, I am solving your problem, and this would cost you a lower TCO around it, probably that's where you get a buy-in. And once you get a buy-in, it's easy to go to IT person, and IT person just have to follow what the business users are saying, right? So that's a right way of approach, I would say. But again, both buy-in are important. Once you get in finance, but if IT is not convinced with a solution, maybe some questions around open source or scalability or security, if you help them with those kind of answers, maybe that's where you get an IT buy-in as well.
It's also the culture. You see, from region to region, actually the culture differs from organization to organization. In some, like if you go to Europe, example, you will find the IT there, or to USA, the IT, they are the people who drive this area. But when you come to maybe Africa or something, then it's not always IT. You will find IT are mainly into hardware, then the ERP and software.
Got it. Yeah, I think we spoke about the same things. Usually the personas that you will come across could be CEOs, CFOs, or operations managers and CIOs. This doesn't cover the CIOs. So firstly, I think try to place your persona into one of these, right, buckets, because they are going to care about something different. Like a CEO is going to focus about growth. CFO is going to focus about controls, your budgets, your reports. Your operations manager is going to focus on adding workflows that can solve for efficiency, flexibility. So I think the pitch should be tailored to the persona as well, who you're speaking to. It really matters. Try and qualify, understand who they are, and then pitch accordingly. For example, typically what we've seen is CEOs really like seeing the business intelligence dashboards of ERP Next. Usually the dashboards is what they like, and even the CRM, by the way. Then the CFOs want to see the real-time financial reporting, budgeting, and so on. And operations, I think I already covered that they care about process automation. There's a bunch of more slides. I decided to skip them, but I'll anyway be sharing them with you, like how do you profile, what kind of needs do you focus on for each. So you can go through these and build more, craft your messages accordingly. Yeah. All right. I want to do a whiteboarding session for this. Let's try and understand like how do you handle this question if the customer asks why should I choose ERP Next over X? It could be anything. It could be Odoo, Zoho. On what parameters are you able to currently show ERP Next as a superior product? And let's whiteboard those points. Should I write? How are you currently answering this question? Let's start with
Just one word? Or
Anything you would like. One word is okay.
it works.
We can deep down. It works. Oh, nice. It works.
okay. Can everyone see this or should I tilt this a little bit? Visible? Okay. Okay, it works.
The solution works. Okay. Anything else?
You don't have to sell your kidneys to buy an ERP.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to write like
Yeah, I like that. It's a raw feedback. We will take it that way.
What else?
Can success stories come here? On why, if a customer asks why ERP Next, putting in an example of somebody in the same industry.
Yeah, same industry would work. Definitely work.
And same product also.
Yeah,
Somebody
same
who switched from an SAP. So we have a partner called Sanskar Techno Lab. He has stories listed by somebody migrated from SAP. They are SAP migration specialists. They position themselves like we are like SAP migration specialists. So you're right actually. Stories on people who switched and make them speak to each other. Done. Okay, but okay.
So industry specific stories as well.
Industry specific stories.
Anything else?
Quality or value, but it ties to number one, so maybe
Quality and value. And
the quality of the product.
okay. Quality of the product.
More or less like.
But it's very subjective. When you say quality, how do you?
What are the
implement
parameters?
Parameters of you define a quality for them.
That's why I'm saying it ties to value. What is it giving you? Let me give you an example.
Sure.
Demo
I'll
yesterday.
give it to you.
Also, the customer who came the other day, a demo we did yesterday, in the evening. Yeah. It was a finance person. The only thing we mentioned is a landed cost, and they do importation. That one keyword alone and starting to kind of talk about how landed cost they can accumulate their cost was just good enough for them to call the whole team yesterday.
Super.
Should I write feature in one of the aspects of quality is the feature, right? What else comes under quality? Say comprehensiveness in features, but not just comprehensiveness, I have what you need, right? That way. What else? Let me add, I think one thing that we had already, Doris, right, had shared user-friendly, right? That's also kind of user experience, a simpler user experiences also kind of adds to the quality. It could be scalability, right? You are not going to wait for hours to run a report or You're not going to, it's going to quickly show up. It's going to be snappy. What else? Customizable?
If you look at the workflow of how the system is built, actually it's built on the standard industry standards where actually you learn the product easier because if you know the subject, everything falls in place. So you don't have to connect things and think how, you understand? The way even users cope with it very easily. Show them one screen, you find we can do 10 screens on its own.
So probably all the modules are coupled and tightly coupled with each other.
Yes.
So kind of monolithic nature is something which is a feature, could be a showcase as a feature to the prospect. Okay.
So you find that the training, when you're doing the training time is short, adaptability is very short. You know, within no time you find the client is live and is happy.
So this time, the second point you mentioned kind of ties to the user friendliness because the training time is lesser, and I think that is a very good point against SAP. Yes. People have said training takes months.
And find menu there, menu there, menu there.
Is it an update QR, right? The one that shows from lead opportunity to show.
Yes, we have.
Because I use that as our profile.
Okay. That's nice.
One of the things is I just open that initially. Then I just take you through the product and then I take you through the process. We are not even into the system yet. So when we go to the system, we kind of have a mental picture of the flow of.
I've heard this from someone. I have not attended any of your demos, but I've heard that you show the product in the last 10 minutes in the demo. You're showing it over workflows and then, you know, first you do this, and then the last 10 minutes is the actual demo. That's interesting.
I was doing demo yesterday as well. You know, someone asked in the panel that, what about the workflow? You know, approvals, and then I just opened the workflow, and then there is a flashing, you know, showing. Actually, I didn't talk. The guy looked like says, I mean, this is what we've been looking for.
Wow, the workflow builder that Sharik built last year, right? That's nice. The multi-level approvals that you can set up there, persona-wise, role-wise, yeah. Any other things?
I think one of the things, the strategies that I follow is after knowing what, okay, I can't give it in one word, but
Yeah.
I just explain. After knowing which system, legacy system they are using, that gives us, you know, to understand what am I pitching in ERP next to them. And having worked with, actually it's very good for all of us to explore the systems, any system. We have to learn the system and we know the shortcomings. So example, when I go and I know they're using this system, I say, fine, ERP next is bugs free, there is no bugs. If you just start using it right now, you won't find any bugs in the core modules at least. Okay, there are no bugs. Compared to even SAP, sometimes you get some glitches here and there in dynamics, and you get some glitches. Okay, we are aware. So just put those points and just give them those seeds of doubts.
Just to add to what you said, Quresh, I also feel like having some intelligence on competitor products also helps. Like for example, somebody told me Odoo has some issue with maintaining the negative stock. You have to have a lot of turnarounds. Like it's not easy to maintain that.
Even aging is not working.
Aging is not working. Then Zoho, for example, Zoho users are very easy to convert. Like Zoho is so SMB, like it's very, very for small businesses. Beyond item variants, I don't think they have any intelligence on item master. Our item master is 10x of Zoho, right? That itself, like just knowing those little things about these products is very helpful. But coming back to this, I think there are few things. There is not just community, both community plus OEM support. I think a lot of other products, it's very hard to get direct OEM support as opposed to the accessibility we have given to our end customers. There's security, especially for enterprises.
Over the period, basically, how is the understanding and knowledge among buyers about open source and licensing? Do you basically see traction coming from the customers, specifically because it is open source and you don't have to pay per user license? You see that trend in
licensing versus open source, I mean, do you use as a pitch for them?
It does.
No user license?
It does.
Yes, yes, it is. It does.
And also, I think there's a difference between customization and configuration. It's very configurable because you can.
Very good point. Very good
You
point.
can add dimension, you can do all those things, and once you do, they all fall in place. They work.
Lot of things doesn't need you to write code.
Yes.
Most things are just like a checkbox to fix and prove.
The customer comes because of open source, they are mostly tying it to cost. Always tying it, yes. They are not even keen on the open source. Because every sale we do, I always mention open source, like by default. But that one is always up by the way. People, I think here they are, yeah, but let's take, what are you offering? We just glide over the open source you just mentioned.
And also, as you mentioned, they get everything.
All in one.
They get everything. Yeah. So you find the client has got multiple businesses, maybe he's got distribution, but he's running hospitals, running pharmacy. So you use the same product. He's doing transportation, he's doing this. So they get
So another thing about everything is also multiple subsidiaries are not going to also cost you more. Most ERPs have, for each subsidiary, it's like double the cost, setup cost. I remember I think NetSuite, even for 5 users, it's out from $20,000. That's what I'd heard.
We had one client that he just came for one product, one company. He had 15 companies. So he rolled out the ERP on all 15.
Excellent. I think we've covered everything. Have we missed? Seems like we've missed things. I don't think this is also a complete list, but licensing cost, customer scalability we covered. Yeah. Implementation and maintenance. I think faster implementation is also something you can pitch because of longer setup and expensive maintenance. I think faster speed of implementation is important.
Especially tools available to migrate data. So it's very powerful.
Sorry, what?
Tools available to migrate data. It's very
Migrate data. Data migration is super simple. Yeah. Then there is vendor lock-in, integration and transparency. I think that ties to security, community support and industry-specific features. This is not a full list, but it's probably just a representative list. That's all I had. There's one more thing, however, that I wanted to cover before we move to, I need to go to this side. And that's an important phase of qualification and discovery. Usually, a lot of our partners spend a lot of time on customers which they shouldn't have spent time on. To avoid that, get better qualification and discovery processes in your sales process. So what is qualification? And I think Smithil, you can maybe speak more about it. I have not qualified a customer yet, but there's a framework called BANT which works. So do you want to share?
Yeah. So usually, a good experience about enterprises is like, I'm not sure how it works with SMEs, but we share a list of questionnaires with them, even with the mid-sized companies as well. And then we speak about all these parameters there. Apart from that, there are a set of 10, 12 questions. From that, you'll identify if this is the right set of customers or no. And once you get a feeling about it, probably that's when you start pitching about it. So in those questions, one of the important questions is like where they are facing any, kind of an immediate challenge, right? Where he mentioned about a finance guy, some other person mentioned about the IT guy, right? But if a finance guy says, hey, I have a problem with the landed cost here right now, right? That's where you jump in, you start pitching from that moment itself so that you get a right entry there. So those qualification questions, we make sure that we share it with the prospects before we do a demo to them. That's the right set of qualifying a customer, right? And of course, if you don't, we sometimes push ourselves saying that no, we don't want to go and give this question to the customer, saying that they will run away from us, thinking that they don't want to answer all these things, right? Now they will be on a call with them, right? Try to figure out the answers by your questions and then you write it down for them and then you make a right qualification. Is a right approach for qualifying a customer basically.
Yeah, and just to add to that, there are 4 questions that really matter when a lead comes in your funnel. Firstly, do they have the budget? are they the right authority, or are they just scouting? They are not the decision maker. Do they really need the product, and how badly do they need the product, and when do they need the product? Having answers to these questions early on is going to be insanely effective for you to run the whole process in the future. And getting answers to this question is not easy. You can't ask what's your budget, right? Or you can't ask, are you the decision maker? Because the person will like, why are you asking me? It's insulting, right? So there are ways you need to understand this. Like, there are indirect questions through which you can understand these things. I think budget, usually just finding their turnover, understanding their turnover is good enough. But it's also okay, like what kind of a budget you're looking for. I think that's a decent question to ask. Is that right? I think that's something you can anyway ask. For authority, indirect way of asking is, in the next meeting, do you want me to add anybody else in the meeting who could probably be one of the other additional people involved in this decision? That's a nudge that helps you understand who is the decision maker. For needs, typically, as Mittal said, a very deep discovery call is helpful. A lot of large enterprises, when I was working with this, in my previous company, we were trying to build a product for the US market, and to study other products, I used to do demos with other companies to understand the features and everything. So everybody did a discovery call with me. I remember the one, what's that product called? Bill.com. It's a US based AP product, AP and payments company. They did such a deep discovery call, and I unfortunately wasted their time telling them I need this. But only then they assigned me the salesperson, right? So a discovery call is where you go deep into, okay, this is the problem. What is your current process like? Even before the demo, going deep into what is the exact pain point you face, so that the demo is going to be very tailored to the problem that they face. Right? The demo is going to be tailored to the top 3, if not all the problems, but at least the top 3 problems that they face. So a discovery call is something you can add, especially for enterprises. Okay, this is just something, you want to add anything for discovery call?
No, discovery call, about the second point.
Okay, before I jump to the second point, it's also important to note the discovery in your CRM for future reference, because these pain points, this context is going to be helpful. Like, don't lose that valuable context with that customer. I remember last year, when we were doing actual sales, end-to-end sales, since last year we've stopped that, our partners only drive the whole sales. When I joined the company, most of my learnings were going through all the past discovery notes to learn about who are the people, where are they coming from, and build my perspective about the product. So that's just intelligence that you need to keep. Paid POC, BRD, you wanted to add something?
Yeah. So when it comes to mid-size and enterprise, of course, I'm going to cover that in my tomorrow's presentation, but since the topic which we brought up right now, just would like to share. They always like to have a POC, always, right? This is my experience working with them from so long, that when you do an kind of a first level of workshop, so either we call it workshop or POC, right? And after that is done, then you prepare a BRD. So we always emphasize on getting them on a workshop. 1-day workshop or a 2-day workshop will definitely help you understand their business processes in detail, right? And also the same day or probably very next day, you can create something which is the power of our product, right? You can configure something, a workflow as well, or just changing the naming convention about their industry will also help, right? In our industry, probably we say a quotation, right? In some industry, they just say sales order, right? So probably that flow, if you can try and relate, right, and create a POC around it and showcase it to the right stakeholder, will give you a 50% buy-in immediately after that POC. And this is an experience I would like to share. So in 2019, we had an opportunity from Qatar, right? And it was again a group of companies. They were into multi-businesses, right? They were into tech, they were into security, they were into distribution and multi things, right? So when customer wanted to have a 1-day meeting, but we requested for a 7-day workshop, and they agreed. We did a detailed workshop every day with one stakeholder from each department, right? At the end of the day, right, we had key takeaways of that meetings, and then we used to build a workshop in the evening while going back to the hotel, right? Build a POC around it, Next day early morning, taken half an hour slot with them saying that, hey, this is what we built yesterday and now we're moving on to another department. Trust me, after 7 days, right, I came with a contract from that company and Umair was the one who went for the implementation very next month. That was one of the biggest deal for us at that point in time, which was around $100,000 for us at that point in time, right? So why we did that? First thing is all about the power of the product. It was not a sales pitch at all, right? And second important factor was the consultant, right? The person who knew the product in and out was able to build a POC for them, and then we were able to convince them that this is the product which covers all your problems and this is the way we do it, right? When we showed them that hey, in just 3 hours in the evening, we were able to build a POC for you. Imagine how fast we can do the implementation for you when it comes to the entire life cycle of the software development probably, right? Where like products like SAP or any other product in the market, which will take at least like a year for implementation, we can do it in 3 months or 6 months. How we build that confidence? Just by doing a right POC for them, right? And then comes the BRD, right? BRD comes when the POC is done, probably you know the requirement and then you start building the documentations around it. So Umair, he built it in BRD for 400 pages of BRD for that particular customer in 2019. 400 pages, imagine. It's like one fine day Umair is like, I am not doing this.
But what was our learning after that?
The customer was so happy.
They were happy because the BRD itself is a value-adding document for them. Yeah. Most of them haven't even documented it.
Business requirement document. Yeah.
So business requirement document maps out their current process, the as-is and to-be process. It's the BRD is where you write down all of these things. But one of our learning is that you shouldn't do BRDs. And Umair, you can share more. I think there is a policy like we also recommend don't do BRDs.
Yeah.
So being a product company, it was like we restricted ourselves doing implementation. But you partners are into services. Probably the first thing is you prepare a right set of BRDs for them. That will give them a long-lasting.
Yeah, maybe for the high size, low maturity, a BRD helps. BRD. The high size, low maturity, because it's a valuable document for them also. Like, that their current process they don't know properly.
So it's inevitable. If you are doing a vanilla implementation, then you can have something, the scope of work which is pretty standard. I think lots of people are turning around, so I'll come in front. So that your pain your neck doesn't pain. We got to survive for 3 days. So if you're doing vanilla ERP implementation, you can have a scope of work ready, right? That's pretty standard, but still you should have it in writing. Now that I have a mic, I'll steal it. We are in the businesses of relationship, right? Everything comes later. The relationship is at the heart of it, and in relationship, commitment really matters. What are we committing to customer, right? And for ensuring our commitments are transparent, solidified and stuff like that, we have to have it in writing in a document. That's why documentation becomes very, very crucial no matter what you do. Even if you do standard vanilla implementation, you should have a scope of work ready. If you are doing customization, this is imperative. This is something inevitable. You can't, even if you do, it will hurt you back. So no matter whatever customization or configuration you're doing, you should have it documented properly. Give it whatever name you're comfortable with, BRD, FRD or whatever. Yeah. So you can name it the way your customer is comfortable with, but documentation as a discipline in your company, especially in the customization heavy project, becomes very, very crucial.
Thanks, Umair. So there's one more thing, and this is something that you can actually do even before, usually after the demo, but give them a hands-on product, right? Give them a product with 1 month of data ingested for them to play around with, either a trial or a 1 month trial. That sometimes it backfires. Some customers, some partners have told me, no, never do that, because people get very confused with that. But maybe a mature customer, like a mature, high maturity customer might appreciate this, because they have used other ERPs, so they are not going to get lost. People who've used other ERPs can easily navigate. So give them a hands-on demo, and hand it over to them. That's all I had. Thank you. All of this material is, by the way, added to this Google Drive. All the presentations, as well as the health check template that I shared with you. During the lead gen, if you remember, I shared the health check assessment. Then there is the pitch deck that I presented for how to pitch ERP next and how to pitch Frappe Cloud as part of this. We are also putting together a region-wise logos, like region-wise customers who are using. We'll soon put it in this folder only. Currently, it's not part of this folder. And there are certain quotation formats that you can look at. I think this is it, right? I'll share this with you all.
I think you can share it in the Telegram group.
In the Telegram group.
I'm a director in Kick Solution Limited.
Sorry, what's your name?
Nasir.
Nasir. Hi, Nasir. So should we break for lunch?
I'm the lead trainer with the ERP Champions. We are based out in Kampala, Uganda. I've done quite a number of demos, which is probably why Neha got me to present this one as well. So we've talked about many of the things that you need to do before the demo starts. Aspects like, should a lead contact you? What do you do? Perhaps there's some preparation definitely which is needed before you get into demos, right? So I have a small case study here of a manufacturer who contacted us. Is the internet on? I should be a bit louder? Great. Is the internet on?
It's your
Yeah, connected. It's not, just reload, right? Just reload.
No, it's not.
Should I try something else?
It's connected.
Okay. Then I should use this. Okay. All right. So before you get into a demo and you have a lead, what are some of the things that you should do? All right? That's what we should get into. It's advisable to research, do your research, get to know the client, all right? So that your demo is a bit more personal and not abstract. So to give you an example, I got this lead whose website I'd like to open up so that, as advised, the first thing you should do is visit the client website. My apologies, there's just been a switch, right. So this is Kaik Tropical Foods, okay? So the website obviously is the best way to begin your research to understand the business. So it turns out that these guys, they are some kind of social enterprise that collects or a lot of fruit from across the country, right? Pineapples, you can see mangoes, just to understand, do some research. Okay. There are various certifications, so that means they take quality very seriously. Okay. What else can we learn about them? So they do source fruits from various smallholder farmers. What are their products? they process. So it's manufacturing. Pineapple pulp, mango, passion fruits, and concentrates. And what do? So these are some of the finished products. They like it to be single source. Again, that talks about quality. Processes. So they describe, we wash under high pressure, okay? We have a rigorous process of washing, brushing, mechanical extraction, preheating, okay? They have testing labs. So really, a website can give you more than enough information you need to at least try to make your demo as customizable as possible. So that's the first step, the website. But sometimes, and again, most times, the website is not enough. So you might need to go ahead and carry out that discovery call. You could write out some questions that they haven't provided. There are some basic questions like how many users? What are your main pain points? Or what is that, you could say, what are the top 3 pain points? So that it also gives you a focus for your demo. A good one is, what software are they using? Because again, you can tailor. So again, my experience is we've been dealing with a lot of smaller clients. So we find people who have been using entry-level accounting software, QuickBooks, Tally. Those are the majority that we are dealing with. But if you do find others who are using the ERPs, then to me, it's a different strategy, okay? So you can write out an Excel sheet or a Word document and you email it with questions that will aid on your discovery, again, to aid your demos. So the point is, when you check the website, you just want to personalize the demo. So if it's Kike Foods, it's in foods, you don't want to bring an IT example, right? So what are some of the things we do? The first thing we do, you can see the website gives you a logo, right? So some of the best practices are quickly utilize the company logo. It really makes them special. We all like our logos, don't we? Yeah. So if you apply this logo, it makes it really feel like this is, like they could own it immediately, right? Beyond that, try customizing workspaces. Now, just yesterday, a client actually gave feedback that, you know, when I logged into ERP Next, I just saw so much and I just got confused. So it's not advisable to do your demo using this admin account, right? Because sometimes less is more, right? So I would advise that you customize your workspaces. So I do have another window here which shows you that you can customize a workspace. You can reduce on the clutter, make it more focused. And you could say maybe if they have a sales team, the sales team will just have only this workspace. Again, just so that you can show the clients that, you know what, part of the features is that, the features of ERP Next is that the role permissions, the roles and the permissions are very detailed, and we can limit. Let's say the salesman doesn't have to look into your accounting, right? So it's best demoed this way, that if he's only a salesman, this is all he will see. He won't be able to look into your accounting. So that's another way of demonstrating that capability of ERP Next, by creating custom workspaces. And you should be able to demo custom fields, all right? So the other point of looking at the website is you need to create some sample masters and transactions, all right? At this point, I would like to also use Excel.
So we are looking the use case of manufacturing only, trading business.
I'm going to look at both, manufacturing, trading, and if, with some time, I'll also look into EPC. Yes. How can I get the Excel? You prefer sheets? Okay. Just used to Excel, but okay.
Okay. You need Excel. This should have. This doesn't have a Microsoft Office. It doesn't have.
Thank you. So the point I was making is, beyond the personalizing, you also want to work on some sample master documents and some sample transactions. And what are some of these master documents? So this first scenario is for a manufacturing company. So you should be able to create some items. What else can we think of? Some users. Maybe an employee. Okay. Cost centers. Since they're a manufacturer, you should work on the BOMs. And of course, the BOMs, now you're getting into their processes. What are their workstations? What are the processes? Okay. So this is how to get started. So on the items, I could show you some of the sample items we've created. So you can see, from understanding their business, they buy fresh mangoes, which is the raw material, right? And then they manufacture the mango concentrate. And we also assume that there must be some waste, if you understand the manufacturing process. So there must be mango pulp as a waste product. So that definitely helps. Then when we get into the manufacturing, we try to come up with a bill of materials, okay, which is suitable for their product. Now, one other thing that I picked out from their website was that, look at their packaging. 220-liter septic bags placed in 220-liter drums, okay? So that kind of aided the decision to say, the bill of materials to make mango concentrate, to make 220 liters, these are the raw materials. Fresh mangoes. Now these are my assumptions. I assume that you use 5 tons of mangoes, but you're going to use 1 septic bag and 1 drum. Just trying to make it as realistic as possible, right? Operations. From our earlier look at the website, you could tell that they do a lot of washing and brushing and mechanical extraction, right? And of course, you set up the workstation, just call it the washer or the crusher, whatever it is, and give it an operating cost estimate, just so that you can show that in this process, you're going to have this waste, scrap item, I assume the percentage loss in your manufacturing, and ultimately this is the overview or your estimated product cost. So this kind of definitely gives the client that you indeed have an insight into manufacturing and what's going on, okay? So, in preparation, you've been able to create all these masters. Now, can you create some transactions, okay? I'll be able to show them that I do have some work orders and some job cards already created. Okay, I'm waiting for them. Some sample workflows as well. You don't have to do much. 1 or 2 workflows to show someone that in case you do have an approval process for your material requests, in case you have an approval process for your expenses, we have you covered here. So all this is in preparation for the demo. All right? So now, how do I get into it? There's a general feedback that most of us are technicians, and therefore we tend to focus so much on the functionality, all right? And yet we should really explain, all right, the rationale of why the functionality should be used. But again, maybe because I've been dealing with smaller clients, that it is important to actually tell them this functionality. It is exciting, right? So this is how I would get into it. I would say, this is ERP Next. This is a web-based solution. Before we get into it, let me just show you how to navigate around, okay? What I like is, if you click on your icon, it will always bring you back to your home screen. On the left side, these are the various modules we have. We like ERP Next because it has almost everything you need. These are the modules: accounting, CRM. And if you notice, if I click on a module, it gives me the detail on this side. So it probably starts with a high-level how-to help you, a bunch of tutorials to help you get around. And then it will give you a high-level chart with some number cards, which you should have at your fingertips. Then it gives you some shortcuts of the most common transactions. So you expect in your accounting module to have your chart of accounts, your invoicing and expenses and trial balance and so on. And then your reports and masters. So that flow is consistent for every module. Your CRM module will also kind of have the same flow. A high-level chart, your shortcuts, and your reports and masters. So this is just to help clients navigate around. Then you say, we also like the fact that there is this search bar. We call it the awesome bar. We like it because it helps us move around easily. So case in point, I could look up the company list. And this shows you that indeed, ERP Next allows you to have unlimited number of companies with different currencies, and you can set their relationships, right? So this is just to give someone a taste of the goods, right? And if they're coming from QuickBooks and Tally, already you've blown their minds just by doing this, right? There are some other features like session defaults. Now, because there are so many companies, you could limit the company which you're working with in that session. So session defaults will help us fix the company we are working with, just so that you don't make errors, in your posting. So talk about the session defaults, the workflow builders. Of course, you're going to demonstrate workflows. It's also cool to talk about the notifications that users can get. And some of these will come later, like the print formats. Collaborative tools, this is a big one, right? Case in point, for any document, let's say a sales invoice, I could assign it to a team member, right? I could share it with a team member, and it has this kind of audit trail. It tells you who created it and who has edited it, which is definitely good for accountants. And at the bottom of the document, we can always have comments. We can have a discussion on this document, and you can always tag your colleagues, right? And, tell them some instructions. And when you tag them, they will always get a notification right here, okay? So that's the importance of notifications. Now, beyond ERP, this is also a communication system, right? And if you give us your email domain settings, right? We could set up your email, and therefore you can now start sending emails right from the system, okay? So you can send your invoices and whatnot straight from the system. So I still think it's quite important to just talk about these features, right? Before you really get into it. And general functionality. Okay, so now that you've set the tone, you've talked about the general features, you've excited the client, let's look at some specifics. How would I go about this manufacturing example? So it's best to assume that, let's start with the CRM, that definitely this client gets leads and he has certain activities that he has to do to convert these leads into customers, all right? So the important thing is that ERPs are really about processes, all right? So from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, okay? So in the CRM module, what are these steps? Lead creation, from leads, create an opportunity, right? Then you convert to a customer. And then perhaps the customer will give you a sales order. Okay? So generally this is the flow. So I would then demo the CRM module and say, it will allow you to create all kinds of leads, and you have an overview of all the various statuses, whether they are converted or not. And for each lead, you can capture all kinds of biodata or information, sources of leads, and remember that whatever you capture, you can report on, because again, that's the important thing. The reason to capture most of this information is so that we report on it, okay? We can capture all kinds of activities that go on in order to close that lead. Maybe you do have open tasks and open events. Maybe you have a scheduled demo or a certain more research you need to do. And then various users can have comments and discussions around that lead, okay? So the administrator here tagged the user came in and talked about it. So basically showing the client that one of the core functions of an ERP is bringing all this information into one place. Beyond transactions, it's really communications, right? And then generally, for most documents, the connections tab also helps us to bring all documents connected or related to it into one place, okay? So you can see that this lead, an opportunity was created, right? And it's also connected to a quotation. So this is the kind of flow that you can adopt when you're doing your demos.
How many of you have been doing these activities before the demo? Changing the logo, creating the masters?
It's great. So I think it's important to show a client that I'll demo just maybe one transaction. Just so that they get the flow, all right? So, Jeremiah, this is my demo environment with so many fields, but ignore that. Maybe I expect to sell from my finished goods. So Jeremiah ordered mango concentrate. Maybe he expects 1,000 liters, all right? I also noted that this company generally exports, so I prepare for their taxation as well, because export maybe it's zero-rated tax. So this this kind of gives the client the experience, how easy it is to use the ERP. That really, just 5 or 6 steps, I can create a transaction. I can save it, leave it in draft form. If I need to make changes, I can make changes later. And if I'm sure of myself, I can submit it to permanently affect my accounting records, right? And also emphasize the importance of these statuses, all right? So there we have it. You could demo this whole flow: leads, opportunity, creation of the customer, and the creation of the sales order. Yes? Yes.
Sales order, since it's a customer-facing document, sending the actual sales order print template can also be demonstrated along with an email sent to the customer. In this case, I think the sales order is created from a customer's order, but I think, yeah, showing an email template with the logo also helps.
Yes. Yep, I'll probably select a better one. Right. Now, this being a manufacturing business, and again, it's also important to understand the nature of your manufacturer. Is it process manufacturing or is it discrete? In this case, clearly it's discrete. So now, what is the manufacturing cycle like? From the sales order, the manufacturing cycle could begin from here. So, again, you have to give him both scenarios. Is it, does he produce when he has an order? And what is the core word? Is it manufacture to order?
Yeah. Make to stock.
Make to order, make to stock, right? Make to order means only when you have a sales order, that is when manufacturing begins. And manufacturing begins with a production plan, right? And the production plan, fine, you can demo it, but more importantly, again, don't focus much on the features. Yes, demo the production plan, but let's emphasize the fact that the production plan automates a lot of your manufacturing processes, right? It's able to estimate for you that if you're to make this product, these are the raw materials that you need, all right? And if the raw materials are in stock, it will go ahead and help you create a work order. If the raw materials are not in stock, it will help you create a material request for purchase, all right? But furthermore, if they're also in stock, it can also help you create a material request for transfer. So emphasize the fact that the production plan automates a lot of transactions for you and brings them in one place for you, all right? So case in point, this production plan has a work order attached and a material request attached, okay? Now, at this point, you could show, because there's a material request attached, it now takes you into procurement, right? So now the procurement flow comes in here, and we'll address it shortly. The buying module, all right? The production plan creates a work order. What is in the work order? Okay, this is a different example of a work order. The work order, these are really your instructions to manufacture. So in this case, someone wanted to manufacture this. It explodes to show you the materials which are required, where they are going to come from. It configures the various warehouses, the work in progress warehouse, the finished goods warehouses, and the operations. But also the work order, again, let's emphasize on the real benefit that it also brings together all the transactions which are needed to complete the manufacturing. In this case, it's the stock entries and the job cards, all right? And it's important to also demo to the client that once the stock entries are made, that they do connect to the stock ledger, they have an impact on the stock ledger and the accounting ledger, right? That is another core function of why, another benefit of really an ERP, that everything is integrated. So the work order brings together stock ledger, stock entries and job cards. The stock entry will show you the movements that indeed the raw materials moved out of work in progress, the finished goods were created, and should you move to this side, one can actually investigate the costing. Is this really the true costing? My raw material costs and then my finished goods costs, all right? That's important for the client to know. It's also important for the client to know the impact on the accounting ledger, because when you do manufacture, especially when you have operations, that there are additional operating costs that have been added onto your inventory. So when you look at the accounting ledger, it should be able to show that indeed your stocks in hand have been debited, all right, to increase the raw material costs by the process costs, right? And you have a payable for that process cost, okay? So quickly tie into the accounting and the stock movements into this manufacturing process. So link to stock ledger and accounting ledger, okay? And the job cards are here. The job cards track what was completed, when it was completed, and who completed it. Many times, in case there are production losses, it's helpful to also track the production losses. So that would generally take you through the manufacturing cycle. But the other point was, when you started the production plan, and perhaps there wasn't enough materials, a material request is created, and now that takes you into your procurement or buying process, right? So a material request is auto-created for you with instructions to purchase these ingredients, all right? And again, through these connections, you can see that from this material request, a purchase order was created, all right? And from this purchase order, it's connected to the purchase invoice, and this purchase invoice, since stock is updated, there's no need for a purchase receipt. Again, proving that stocks arrived, right? So the buying process is also clear, that from material requests, there's a purchase order, which leads into either a purchase receipt and a purchase invoice. Finally, leading into payments. Okay? Any questions? Is this clear, the understanding of the processes and how everything is connected to each other? Any remarks before we go on?
clients want to see how the data you are capturing, how you can monitor, you can view, you can explore. I think showing dashboards as you go along, that this is how you connect here, drill downs, I think they add value.
Exactly. So if these are the core processes, once you're done with the general core processes of a manufacturer, you've helped explain the customer relationship management and how it leads into the production planning and the work ordering and the buying. Then reporting, therefore, is the key thing, okay? So what are some of these reports? And when you talk reporting, it's kind of pushing you also into the accounting module, because again, you also need to talk about the accounting, because most of us are interested in ERPs because of accounting, right? And accounting is definitely the foundation of all this. So I would demo, as I did for the sales order. I don't have to demo a sales invoice, but I just maybe at this point would show that for each document, right now this is the list view, but there's also a report view, all right? And in this report view, it's quite flexible. I could create all kinds of reports. I could remove columns, I could add columns, I could create my own customizable reports from this, which I can export to Excel, okay, or maybe create PDFs out of them. So this is one of the first reports that I could demo. And I would also inform them that much as this happens on a sales invoice, it happens on any document, right? Same list views, same report views for purchase invoices or any other document. So these report views are available. Clients are definitely interested in knowing the standard financial statements. So you could show briefly the profit and loss, the balance sheet, the cash flows, right? It's important to show yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
I think you have a lot of experience in implementing ERP Next for various industries, especially for manufacturing company.
Yes, yes.
So I want you to tell me, from your experience, as you know, to calculate cost of production, there are direct material, indirect material, direct labor, indirect labor, and factory overhead cost. So, and selling, finance and admin cost. In addition to that, there is selling and distribution cost.
Yes.
All this add up to give you the cost of production. So from your experience, how do you implement this thing in ERP Next?
Okay, great. The bill of materials is what helps. So right here, these are the direct material costs. That is very clear, okay? Then operations. This is where I could add the other operating costs. So in this process of washing, let's look at the operation. I'm able to estimate the operating cost. Now this could be the labor cost of producing the 220 liters, okay? Or it could be the machining costs, all right? So these are the other direct costs through operations, okay? So the workstation actually is what helps you set these other costs, direct labor. Is that okay as well? Yeah? So now you see these are the operating costs, either labor, machine costs, maybe, well, packaging is right here, all right? So we kind of fix it to manufacturing related costs. I wouldn't add transport to this.
Which means you manually calculate and insert it here in the field, okay? The operating cost part.
Yes.
I mean, to automate it, just.
Well, once it's fixed in this operation, in the bill of materials, and the work order is run, so you see, at the end of it all, I'm able to get the actual operating cost of producing. In this work order, I produced 220, or rather my intention was to produce 220. I lost 20, so I produced 200, right? So ultimately, it's why we were saying that through these stock entries, so look at this. These are the raw materials, right? And their costs. 3 raw materials created a finished good called mango concentrate at this cost. So this is raw material cost, right? Additional costs, now these were the process costs, the operational costs, which I set in the bill of materials, okay? And which is why we said, if you view the stock ledger, not only do you view the stock movements, you also are able to analyze the costing, right? So case in point, these are the 3 raw materials. Let me help you understand this. Okay, 5 million. Let's add these 3 costs. One was 5 million, the other was 10,000, and 10,000, right? So this becomes the total cost of the final product, right? Do you see that? And you're able to get the cost per unit. I don't know, have I kind of made it clear for you? Or someone could make it easier for me? You okay? Great.
Actually, in manufacturing, you have to understand there is no fixed cost, especially for MBA. Because like this month, you will be producing some materials, but the cost for the labors, administration, it will not change. Some months it will be more, sometimes it will be less. So that's why most of the companies, they have done estimation. Okay? Estimated cost. That's why you add it on the workstation, you add the labor cost, electricity cost. Okay? Electricity, it is sometimes it can be close to the correct figure. Okay? But like labor cost or administration cost, it will not be accurate. Now this cost, if you want to add it directly to the product, then it will not be considered as expenses. What will happen is expenses directly, it will be increasing the value of the products directly. Okay? Most of the companies, because especially with the big companies and with multiple products and complex products, they don't prefer to do it that way. So usually they deal with the direct cost, okay, or some of the estimated cost. The rest it will go directly, I'm spending material for washing or for cleaning or for the salaries, it will go directly to the expenses. So not
Okay.
be added to the value of the product. So directly, mostly the companies, what they have do, they see their expenses on monthly basis and how much they are producing, and from that they are doing what is their rate increases in the value of the cost of the items. So they are doing their pricing based on how much they are spending and how much they are producing. Okay? So most of the companies, they are not doing the direct cost of the product and their cost. And if they do it, basically it will be estimated cost.
Okay. The main point you're saying is that let's focus on the direct costs of production. Material, labor, and just direct labor, right? Not those who are paid a monthly wage. We wouldn't add them to the production, right? Understood. You're not keen on adding electricity because it's also not varying.
Now, actually with the machines, especially with the worker station with the machines, they have when you are running the machine, okay, it is giving you how much you are using consumption. Even some companies, they are doing the electricity per machine. They are having the meters per machine, so they have exactly how much they are using for each machine. Now, because we are knowing how much it is doing for the pieces or per item, how much it is using time, so we know how much consumption of the electricity. So it could be accurate, electricity and fuel. Could be accurate, or definitely sometimes it's not 100% accurate,
Yes.
but it can be estimated well.
Great.
And actually the wages, basically you can, basically the wages you cannot add it to the BOM because
Just an argument over here. I want to produce something, okay, but it is urgent, okay. So I might decide to increase my labor in order to shorten the production time. So in that case, I can add that labor onto my product cost. My product cost will remain the same.
Yeah, so Krish, the Japanese handles it that way only. It's a guesstimate which is added to the product valuation, but it's nullified because you eventually book a separate purchase invoice for your indirect cost, like electricity, salaries and whatnot. So actual production value or the item value is the raw material and raw material cost. Yeah.
So basically, actually, when you are just moving these wages and all this, you are increasing the value of the inventory. Even most of the companies, they don't prefer to do that.
They can simply skip the job part feature for that.
They can skip labor costs?
Labor cost is anyways added temporarily. We can discuss that later on
Okay.
explicitly. But yeah, it's anyways knocked off when indirect expenses are
Okay.
via purchase invoice.
Great. Okay, we go on. So we're generally talking about reporting. It's important to show the key financial reports, but also this gross profit analysis is important since so this is an example of a gross profit analysis. This is by invoice. It's important to show how profitable each sale was. All right, so mango concentrate in this case was sold at $500,000. This is the average production cost. Gross profit is that much. And it's a flexible report. We can also view by the product itself, okay, or by customer and so on. So you can pick 3 or 4 accounting reports to show. I think the sales, under the selling module, the sales analytics is also a good report, right? It kind of shows you the movement on a monthly basis, either by customer or by product. Okay. So these are some of the reports which you can demo for your clients. Okay. So reporting, standard financial statements. We can also add on a gross profit analysis or sales analytics. Okay. So basically, this would be about it for a manufacturer. For a distributor, generally, distributors are equally heavy on the customer relationship management processes. Personally, I like to emphasize this opportunity document because distributors do have route sales and they would like to have route plans. So you could use this opportunity document for your sales team to plan out that I do have an opportunity at this client, it's worth this much. An opportunity at this client at this much, worth this much. So the CRM and selling cycle is equally consistent for your distributors or traders. And what could be different with them could be that once they've received a sales order, it is what could now trigger the procurement or the buying cycle through your purchase ordering.
How would configuration change for a distributor in the masters? Let's say if I'm into a consumer durable business, then what would you recommend?
If
I'm into a business of consumer durables.
Consumer,
Durables.
give me an example. Consumer.
Refrigerators.
Okay.
Washing machines. Cleaners and whatnot.
Yes.
And what would you specifically suggest me for that particular use case?
For this particular use case, well, the point is that from that opportunity that you have, you could create it could trigger the RFQ to purchase. Is that what you meant?
What would you change in the configuration, in the setup? If I'm a consumer durable business trader, what would you change in the configuration? It's a test story.
No, I don't think I would change much.
Yeah, nothing would change.
Nothing would change.
Yeah, but within let's say item master, what would you? What is the additional feature you would recommend? Batch number, serial number could be useful.
Okay.
Based on the use case of the customer,
Yes.
you can actually dive into specific configurations.
Okay.
Which will actually they'll be able to relate a lot more. So as a consumer durable, you have to offer warranty. And if you have to offer warranty, serial number and everything can be very useful. Yeah.
So you're saying on the for distributors or traders, an addition would be.
It depends. I mean, I could be, let's say, if I'm a pipe trader, let's say, I'm trading pipes,
Yeah.
then serial number is of no use.
Yes.
Batch number could still be used. So it varies from industry to industry.
Yeah.
You have to be cognizant of the fact, based on the business of prospect, you have to do some configuration, relative configuration into masters.
Like pharmaceuticals, they need
Yeah.
batch and expiry date.
Yes, definitely.
Also, that old fashioned
Yeah, pricing.
Sorry, I missed your point. No, you just said something. Something you said.
for the clothing businesses, okay, usually they like attributes. Attributes and
Attributes.
sizes and all
Names.
this.
This item name is very important.
Starting with item master also makes sense, even before a CRM.
Right.
Start with the item master.
Great.
definitely see the masters. Usually we start with items, customers, and suppliers. This is the main, and this is the core for
Then we dive into our way of doing it. Then we dive into the buying.
Nice, yeah. Most user cycle in the ERP module is mostly buying.
And after buying, actually sales is understood because the same documents you are flowing and
Okay. Great.
Actually, the item master have a lot of details that also it is making it very interesting for the client.
What would you like to pick out here in particular? That various units of measure, is that important to talk about?
Actually, this is one of one of the options is not good.
Yeah.
Some of them listed multiple units. We show it as a benefit to the customers, but we recommend usually one unit. Most of the users, they do mistakes. Easily they do mistakes with multiple units.
Okay.
So generally the point is we should show only the feature which is relevant to the customer.
Yes.
If they go about explaining all the complete item master, I can spend 1 day.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can spend 1 day easily.
Yes, yes.
Just explaining item master.
Yes.
So,
But just the,
relevant to that business
just
is higher.
the key things that you pick out.
The key thing I could pick out on this one, okay, it's supporting the items, code and name, okay, it's supporting the barcode, multiple units, reorder levels,
Yes.
multiple text tables, quality check. Okay.
Quality checks
This is the main area and the valuation.
and evaluation.
This is the main areas that could make it different, and also because it is very customizable, so like spare part industry, we give them OEM, vehicle module, vehicle submodule, and vehicle region, and these areas to buy, to do, full details about the items.
Okay. Great. This dashboard? Right here, connections? The activity that you can tell the intensity of action during the month? Oh, the stock levels. Yeah, that you do have a high level of stock.
That's very important.
Okay. Better than going into the stock ledgers or stock balance report. It's a high level reporting. Huh? Okay, that's good. Thank you for that.
actually for any business, what makes a difference in the profitability is the stock.
The stock.
The stock is an asset. If you mess up with stock, you end up with a lot of losses. So when you start with the item master, give them the importance of how you control the stock correctly by even not allowing the negative stock, which is an option in the company. It's really something that it's a selling. Those are the selling points.
Great. That's noted.
By the way, just to share, I got a call some time back by a customer who was using Odoo. I was surprised. They were saying there is no proper inventory aging in Odoo. So use it as a selling point.
Yeah. They have some very basic feature is missing actually.
There's no stock aging?
See, we are in this domain more than 20 years. And when we have selected the ERP Linux, we selected for a reason. We have seen a lot of systems. We have chosen wisely because we know not only what is there, but also what is can be done more.
Thanks.
Thank you for that. Good choice. Great.
And this is one of the areas that we share with the clients also. Because they have to understand they're expert in this and why we have chosen this system. Okay? For him, he will not be on our level as expertise.
Absolutely.
Okay? So with our expertise, we have chosen this system. It is for a reason. But we have to feel that pressure that this is the right system for me.
Great. That's cool.
Also the manufacturing, the repacking feature, where you don't want to go through the normal manufacturing. It's very powerful. Where you are doing mixing of products, products.
Shortcut of manufacturing.
Yes, it works very well.
Yes, it does.
Especially people moving from zone to zone, we have
How is my time?
You have some more time, ideally 50 more minutes.
Okay.
The bottles have been taken off because they're plastic. So if you want water, just let's take. You can go ahead.
Since many people were
Comes to the negotiation and pricing, right? So pricing, actually now we are talking about the business, the real business, making money, eventually why we are here, what sales is all about. So let's talk about pricing. And before we talk about pricing, I would love to introduce myself. I'm Umair from Frappe Technologies. I'm one of the co-founder. Since very beginning, I wore multiple hats. I was in support from very beginning, and then I was driving implementation team. I was driving product for very little time, and then we had the partnership model. So very recently, I've been talking to partners, meeting going, and help them understand, what the Frappe's business model and what is good for them, understanding from other partners only. I'm not a business guru or anything like that, and that pretty much makes me jack of all trades, and you know the rest. What is the rest? Please complete. I would love to have an interactive session. Master of none. So that's where I stand. So whatever I say, it's all learning from the partners, okay, which we have seen over the years. Some partners try and fail, some partners succeed, what has worked, what has not worked. In fact, some of the case studies which I'll be sharing is actually the case studies of failure, because failure teaches us more in life, right? So what we should not do and what should be done. So yeah, pricing, before we jump to what are the pricing model, I would love to know what are the pricing models you guys follow. So would someone like to share? You do the complete estimation, requirement gathering, and then you give one price, or you have some other approach. What is the pricing model followed here in Kenya specifically? Edward, you have been pretty silent. Please share something.
Okay, the model, okay, when you are pricing the price, you must consider also the people who you are working with, and also if it is benefit also to the person you are with.
Absolutely. So what's the model? You basically do complete requirement gathering and then you give a price, or you basically just propose that this is my cost if you want my attention and my time.
You must also be considerate with the client also.
What is the model you follow?
The model is we have like we calculate mostly the percentages.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are making the system,
Mm-hmm.
the profitability of the company,
Mm-hmm.
and also what is the thing.
Okay, that's so based on your goal, you ascertain your proposal and your price. Okay, nice. That's called value-based sales, by the way. How much value we are gonna add for the company? If we simply say that we are gonna charge like $5,000 or $10,000, that's our fixed price. But if you say, and if you are able to hold that number, that implementing ERP next can actually boost your sales by say 2 million, and my cost will be say 10% of that. If you can hold something like that, that's definitely a model you can experiment with. But generally it's not followed. It's generally TNM. So whatever I understood is basically it's a TNM model also at the same time. You basically pitch hourly price or a daily price. Anyone following a fixed bid pricing here? Estimate the requirements, estimate the modules they would be implementing, and then give one price.
Yes, kind of. Where you look at the first, you evaluate the complexity of what is involved getting delivered, which module. And at the back of your mind, you estimate time it will take, or how many resources you need, and then you try to come up with the numbers. At the same time, myself, for example, because I knew I've got the strategy to penetrate in the private market. At times we are ready to forgo some margin, just get in, and then get the reference, get known in the market, so can grow.
Cool. Yeah, so broadly these are the two models which is followed. So we'll talk about it. What are the pros and cons of each model? There is fixed bid, means you estimate the requirement, how many modules, what is the additional feature they might need, how much training they would need,
how much time we'll have to basically put our person on site, and what is the total cost of it, and then you give one number, right? There is some customization requirement also. You actually invest into understanding that customization requirement from your pocket, estimate it, understand your efforts, and then basically again derive a number and put it in your proposal that this is the cost for customization, right? And the other model is basically time and money, wherein you say that okay, my resources are available for this much amount per man month, per man per man day and stuff like that, and you just buy hours from me. Whatever you want to get it done, that we'll discuss later, and we'll keep doing it. So these are the two broad models which is followed. Now, of course, there is pros and cons of each model. In the fixed bid model, it's very easy to calculate. If you want, let's say 4 modules, this is my price. If you want additional model, then this is my price. So it's very easy to calculate right in front of customers. I have seen partners given quote, and they are like, they don't even negotiate, because I can see you have given same price to other customers, and it's easy to close because you are not charging for value. Value could be so high. You're just charging for your efforts, estimated efforts, right? So for the customer, it is very easy, and customer know their budget. Generally, why customer ask for fixed bid is basically they want to know how much the cost of the complete implementation will be. They don't want to have this ambiguity that if I go with T&M model, then I don't know how much price I'll be charged for the implementation, right? So that's the pro, but at the same time, there's a con of fixed bid. It's the biggest challenge is basically requirement keeps exceeding, right? Requirement doesn't, and that's the part and parcel of implementation business, that requirement keeps exceeding. So if you have given fixed bid implementation to a customer, most of the time projects get stuck because you have invested too much time. You committed 3 months, but you have invested, let's say 4 months, 5 months, right? But you don't have clarity where project is going. And every time you do requirement gathering, you are investing your time, right? The proposal comes later as to how much time we would need for executing it. But how much time you have invested for requirement gathering, that's your investment, right? And it's at the same time, it's not scalable, right? This thing. And when we talk about time and money, if you can crack this model, nothing like it. It's very scalable. It's very profitable at the same time. You have just given one research to a person, and you know basically that this person is going to get me this much money for sure, right? But this comes only if customer trusts you. No one is basically going to give you the order based on T&M model unless they completely trust you. And what we have seen is basically people or the partners who pitch time and money a T&M model, they have a bigger team, because as you keep acquiring more customers, you have to basically hire more people. You have to train them. You have to keep hiring them, because you are actually body shop. You are actually selling people. You are selling hours, right? So that's if you don't want to basically make a huge team, then this becomes a problem, because after a point you can't really scale. You can't really scale. You can't. Some of the partners we spoke to, they're not able to basically acquire new customers. The biggest problem with this model is basically after a point you can't acquire new customers because they're too much busy with the existing customers, and they are giving you revenue, but at the cost of your new business acquisition, right? So it has its own cons also. So generally what we prefer is the hybrid model. You start with the fixed bid project. You deliver something, right? So at a fixed cost, you have delivered something. When I say delivered something, customer is live on Frappe application. It could be ERP Next, it could be some other application, but customer is live using it. They have actually gained the value of the application. That's what I mean by delivering. Not that we have got the SOP or we have got the sign off. That's not called delivery. You have to have customer using product and live, right? Once you have built that rapport with the customer, then you can basically pitch that instead of going into requirement gathering and price negotiation each time, let's have a T&M model. I'll give you my person, and you can basically keep getting work done from them. That's the thing which doesn't stop your growth. At the same time, helps you have a hybrid model wherein you have a better profitability. And at the same time, you start with vanilla. The biggest point here is basically if you want to build a repo and you want to deliver something fast, you start with vanilla. Because there is a direct correlation. We have seen hundreds of projects in terms of profitability, in terms of chances of success. The more you stick to vanilla, the higher the chances of profitability and project success. The moment you open the customizations window, it sometimes ends up becoming a Pandora's box. You keep, and I'll share some case studies, so we'll talk about it. Yeah, and pricing, we learned that basically new customers always had this problem of finding as to how to estimate, how to price a new project. Does anyone have a problem here? You don't know how to price a project? How do you price a project? Any model? Time and money model. Anyone who has a problem in estimating what should be quote for implementation project? You guys. So you guys kind of no clarity as to how much we should be quoting for a particular project. Cool. So we made one tool called price estimation tool. No rocket science. It's a pretty simple tool which I'll be using. Links doesn't work here. It does work in the non-presentation mode, seems like, yes. So it's an app which is available on GitHub also. It's an open source application called price estimation tool. I'll just try and if I can pull it up. Frappe price estimation tool. Yeah, you see this? So it's available on GitHub. If you want, you can basically install this application in your site. And in this particular thing, I already have installed this application into my ERP Next site. So if I go to About section, you will see that I have price estimation already installed. Very simple tool, no rocket science. I'll go to new ERP Next price estimation. I'll select a customer, say this customer. I can add more detail about introduction section and project brief. They want core plus manufacturing and say 5 print formats, right? So in core plus manufacturing, what comes? Accounting comes, stock comes, buying comes, selling comes, manufacturing comes, and customization comes. So I have picked, right? And of course setup has to be there, so I'll pick setup also. Rest of the module I have skipped. Now I have pre-populated or estimated how much time each of the module is going to take. Pretty simple, is going to give me hours. Even in the buying module, selling module, stock module, whatever configuration I'll have to do or spend my time on, be it configuration, it can be training also, right? So that I have picked. I put my hourly rate, so it's more or less a TNM model, wherein I say that okay, my hourly rate is this much. So it does a simple math for each module put together. It has calculated the total effort, total configuration effort, and it multiplies that with your hourly rate. Then comes Frappe Cloud plan, right? So let's say you propose a $100 plan. Understand the hint, what we are trying to say. Validity is 1 month, or I would rather say 1200 plan because it's better. Customer like paying on yearly basis, and it is say 1200. Okay, so this can be 100, and AMC you can also put in your AMC, and validity will be say 1 year, and rate will be, I'll just put some number here, and you have the amount, right? You simply save this. Very simple form, right? No rocket science, and also gives you print format. And we have a specific print format also designed, price estimate, wherein it tells you how much time, what are the modules involved in the implementation and the configuration efforts, what is the total cost, what is the Frappe Cloud cost, and what is the AMC, right? And it gives you the total charges also with the efforts breakup. So when you are actually, I was talking about the scope of work, right? When you give a proposal to the customer, you also have to share the scope of work, which is very important, so that your commitments are absolutely clear. Yes.
For implementation, it costs for data loading, not history for data. Data
Yes, yes. Right.
The thing with this, if you go
You're right.
They go around that sometimes customers that it's not very. So that may take even a bulk of the implementation.
Absolutely, absolutely. You just change the item effort for the items from say 1 day to 5 days. It's as simple as that, because it's completely effort based, right? So simply increase the number of hours it will take. So it's based on hours. You simply increase the number of hours. So it's as simple as that. Hope that answers the question. But this format also helps you, even if you basically work on fixed bid project. This format also helps you that you should basically charge separately for your implementation efforts. Give the breakup to the customer as much as possible, so that they feel that they are getting so much, and then you pitch your Frappe Cloud, and then you pitch the AMC, and that actually gives you the complete order value. How do I switch back to I think I found it. No. Yeah. So this is the tool you can use. It's open source, and you can easily set it up in your ERP Next account. Now quickly coming to the implementation practices. And yeah, what is the biggest challenge in implementation? What is the biggest implementation challenge you face? Closing projects means on the sales side. Okay, the end, completing the implementation, closing projects. What is specifically problem you face in closing a project? Customer doesn't give sign off?
Yeah, or there is some disengagement or could be
Knowledge gap is one big factor, right?
Fear of the end users, they don't want to interact, they want to learn, but they don't want to start.
Very valid point, very valid point. Yeah. Fear of the end users in switching to a new application.
They will learn when you teach them the system, they will
Right.
They will interact with you as if they learned everything. But
Right.
when it comes to the reality and then start using it, they feel like, okay, I've forgot everything now.
Right.
Again.
They're completely blind, and they're hesitant to change.
It is very frustrating.
Right.
The person to be employed to be doing the work, not them.
Mm-hmm.
Not the employees. They want a person to be doing that job.
Okay. So it is basically so your customer has suggested that they also want a person from your side to use the software.
Yes.
Wow, that's the next level altogether.
They don't want to pay for it. They want to offload their work of managing the system to one of their consultants. Okay. And that's a service business. You can start doing that.
They should they don't want to pay. After they take you in, the retainer that you want from them, they don't want to pay.
Okay, so they want your service, but they don't want to pay additionally. Perfect.
The right price.
Perfect.
That is not completed yet. Still we couldn't learn it now. You guide us through. If I pay you, that means you will leave us. That is how we do it.
Great. Yes. Commitment, management's commitment. Very valid point. Very valid point. Right. Would you like to share something, experience, guys?
What was your implementation biggest challenge?
There's time that we imported some data and when setting up the costing initially was first was set as
FIFO, okay.
Then was
Moving average.
and yes, and we are already gone live. Then we realized, oh, this customer was supposed to have been set. So based on this, we identified that there is a gap. Sometimes there is a communication gap between the management
Very true.
and the implement. So when you get information that is half, you might end up going live and then suddenly you realize, oh, this was a mistake. basically so
reconfiguration
information
which needs to be done. Yeah.
information that we have to be all collected together and seen, studied thoroughly before.
Right. So the scope of work has to be very comprehensive. That these checklists should be met with before you talk about, let's say, setting up account itself. Forget about go live, but the checklist should be very comprehensive.
Most of the times, the customers also what we have seen is the customers decide at the end moment that I want to go live on this day.
Right.
Pressurize you into trying to set up something.
Yeah. So thanks for I think sharing. The complete presentation, I think it's full of these challenges coming from our own failed implementations, right? Because that these failed implementation teaches, and there are some tips and as to how we can mitigate those risks and navigate through that. So the biggest implementation challenge, like Yusuf said, is basically the changing requirements, right? And as I said earlier, which I think I have already covered this point, is once you basically is open for the customizations and you basically sell it as a USP, you have already opened the Pandora's box. So there is a shorter way available that okay, we can do everything, everything is possible if Frappe framework can handle it, right? But the start would be with the vanilla implementation, right? And if you say that no, everything can be done, we want this project at any rate, then you are going with second route, right? And you know what awaits there, right? So the simple or the recipe for the success, as I said, is vanilla agile implementation, right? You basically you help them understand as to how much vanilla implementation can already deliver you, how many pain points of your business will be solved. It doesn't matter how good the product is, but how many pain points of the customer will be solved. So that can really help you keep your ticket size minimal, because eventually it also comes down to your ticket size. If you are charging say 5x compared to what vanilla implementation would pay, then customer will have expectations, right? Customer will expect you to do all sorts of customization which they are never going to use, but they will, because of their own ego, make you do that customization, right? So it actually is not the implementation project, it becomes a ego battle because they are paying, they want you to do that thing. And you can simply mitigate it by basically keeping it agile, and you tell them that let us deliver something, you see the value. Once you have seen the value, then we will basically talk about next phase. And in the first phase or two phase, we have so many products now, we are not just talking about ERP, but so many products, you can go about 2 phase, 3 phases of doing Frappe implementation only, Frappe product implementation only. So that's the thing, help them taste success as soon as possible. That's the recipe of building trust. No matter how good the product is, but if you fail as an implementation, entire ecosystem fails. And if you have delivered even one module correctly, we build the trust and the entire ecosystem wins. So that's how crucial it is, and that's why implementation plan matters. So I'll share one story. There was very enthusiastic customer. They are into manufacturing of perfumes. They were using Tally for accounting, and they basically had some custom-made solution for managing perfume manufacturing, which has lots of things as to product solvency and whatnot. I mean, lots of technical terms. They said like, okay, we want to completely automate our processes and we'll do the POC. And we were like, yeah, sure, customer is always right, let's do the POC. So 2 weeks of calls actually. Palkan is not here, I think she was part of that implementation, on hell lot of documentation, right? And after 2 weeks, we go to customer and we said, okay, now we have the requirement, 60 points of requirement only, but what is critical to you, and customer is like completely blind. They're like, no, I've given you requirement, deliver me everything, right? But they don't know what actually their requirement is. When you basically start planning, you will actually talk about goal, what is actually we are trying to achieve from this particular implementation, right? So in planning, it will help you identify your goals as to what are we helping customers solve it. You will jointly define that accountability, so that there will be buy-in of everyone from your side and from the customer side also. And that will eventually translate into the quality. You will actually deliver what you plan for, and it will prevent unnecessary escalation, because this business, again, escalation is part and parcel of this business, right? So always, we should always find a way that our commitments are clear, we have joint accountability, and we're delivering with the customer. Now, there's no rocket science again, project template. Every time we go to partners, they have some project plan here and there in the Excel file. It's just that they don't maintain it in one place. So we also basically provide one project template to the customers, which is pretty simple. Yeah, so we have one site called PMM Audit, and we also have some sheets in the Excel. We can share this as to do the application setup, company setup, user permission, letterhead, company account, and whatnot. Do a kickoff call. So this is the enterprise thing, and then we have one more for SMB. So the thing with project template is basically you can have multiple template based on the size, based on the type of the project. Here you have a kickoff meeting, identify project champion and DRIs, identify implementation goals and everything, so that you don't miss out and your plan is comprehensive. So the very point which was mentioned, the checklist has to be like very, very comprehensive so that you don't miss out. And this is your recipe. If you have project template, comprehensive project template, very less chances that you will miss out onto something very basic like item valuation, which should be done on day 1 or day 2, right? So always have a project plan in place for ensure for each project you are tracking project and task comprehensively, accountability is set, and this project is not just shared internally but shared with the customer also, right? That transparency will also help you build trust and avoid unnecessary escalations. Back? Oh, thanks.
How can we get this project template?
We'll share it as a collateral, and there's also one template ERP Next site which we give to partners. So we'll also share the access of site with you guys. So the price estimation tool, project template is part of that same site. Okay. Yeah, so it has key tasks as to team introduction, setting expectations right. These I've seen mostly partners are just fine in setting up the project plan. It's just that they don't do it properly in a proper tool. They do it in Excel file, and then they keep searching for the Excel file. When we ask for a sign off, they open up their Gmail and then search for sign off, customer dash sign off. So you should have things in system. You shouldn't be. The thing is basically when you have things in Excel file and email, you become a single point of failure. If you are not there, or the person with whom who was collaborating on the project, with that person the emails are also gone, the data is also gone, right? The very reason why we propose ERP solution to our customer is basically to centralize your data in your system, right? So we are talking about same thing, implementing same thing in our business processes. And yeah, what is the risk? What is the biggest risk of failure? Why things fail? Someone already said that point, but it's very, very valid point that we understand how crucial that point is. Commitment is definitely one point. Project not going live eventually, yeah. What is the biggest risk? Overcommitment is also very valid point, yes. Just for the sake of closing, we overcommit things. Yeah, but I think you rightly said it earlier, which is change management. So I'll again tell you one story and just avoid the name of the customer. That's just for me to recollect which story I need to tell. So Bombay Gas is a very, I think, a big company, funded company in Mumbai, and they basically build these towers for telecom companies, right? They were using Tele and multiple applications, and there was a burning need of basically going live in a period of 1 month, right? They wanted to go live in the period of 1 month with ERP Next, and it was an enterprise project. We started the thing, right? And the moment we started, we were going Valinda, and suddenly there is, this is very critical, let's do it. And we are like, okay, customer is always right, let's do it, and we started, and suddenly Pandora's box opened. This is also critical. We need to do this. This is also critical, and forget about going live in 1 month. 3-4 months we were simply building features, In fact, some of the features we added in the core product also, right? But customer never went live. So, and the problem there was not how many features we can develop. Problem was they were too hooked to Tally. You know, the core problem was somewhere else. We were building product like features like crazy. You know, okay, if you do this, customer will be happy and probably they will go live. You know, so one of the key aspect of project success, maybe you can have it as a task line item also, is basically you need to make your customers and sponsors pull the plug on the legacy software. Unless and until you pull the plug on the legacy software, customers and users will always have excuses that this feature is not there, we have too many clicks, we have too much to scroll, our logo doesn't come there, you know, unnecessary excuses, you know. So, what you need to basically convince management, and you have to basically gain the trust. That's the reason why I keep saying that we are in the business of trust, we are not in the business of ERP implementation, right. So, you have to really gain the trust of a business owner that okay, we are here for your consulting, we are not here for implementation. We want to basically also propose you some of the process re-engineering which will be good in your interest, and if we do that, then implementation will work. Good. But if you have a broken processes on top of that, if you basically try and implant ERP implementation, it's bound to fail. Make sense? Right. So, eventually what happened is basically the government changed the regulation and the GST came in, and there was a need of e-invoicing which wasn't there in the legacy software, and that's the point when customer migrated eventually to ERP Next. So, it's not a case study of failure, they eventually migrated, but yeah, we did face lots of problem with they being hooked to Tally and not stopping Tally. So, yeah, know your champion as in the relationship part, you know. You have to basically on great terms with your business owner, the sponsors. So, understand who is your sponsor, who is basically paying for the project, and who is the user. So, user, you have to basically talk to user for understanding the scope of the project, you know, what is really critical. You have to build a good, you have to be on good terms with them also, right. But when it comes to go live and everything, unfortunately, you have to have an authority and you have to convince the authority that now we need to pull the plug, stop all legacy software. The business owners have to stop using approving quotations and whatnot from say whatever legacy method they had. The business owner should kind of enforce that I'll only approve quotation and orders or invoices if it's coming through ERP. You know, so that's the kind of rapport you have to build with the customer. And yeah, you should also know the escalation metric, that if user is creating a problem, then to whom to escalate, right. Just like customers are sharp, right. Customers know our escalation metrics. If I don't do the work, they'll go to Smithal. If Smithal doesn't do the work, they'll go to Neha, right. They'll get their work done. But what we do is basically, okay, I'll share another case study. So yeah, customer keeps changing requirement is basically the biggest problem, right. I think everyone agrees here. And for that particular point, I think documentation becomes very, very crucial. So another case study, Elastic Run, it's a unicorn. It's a unicorn company, funded company in India, right. And we were basically, again, something which we built for them, we added in the core product, the promotional scheme feature which we have based on the pricing rule, we developed for them. I don't think they still use it, but we added in the core feature, core product. So we did the requirement gathering. It was a pretty simple project, and we gave them a documentation, right. And it was as per their requirement. And suddenly they are like, no, we also need one more doc type called say promotional scheme, so that we can do everything from one position, you know, one location and everything. So it become a topic, hot topic. But because we had a customized documentation in place, we said we could hold that, okay, this is what we understood from you and this is what we agreed upon. If there was no documentation, we wouldn't have been able to basically hold the argument itself, right. So that's how documentation is important, because this is gonna happen with you. Okay, we thought you understood that this will be there as a requirement. So you know that moment is gonna happen. So better document everything as much as possible, as comprehensively as possible. And though we don't generally promote, but you have a chat GPT now, so get the hint. You can give some points and it can give you some summary of it. So when we say documentation, you have to have a very comprehensive BRD and commitment sign-offs in place, right. And we also have a statement of work. Again, this is a part of same site. So we give a template of basic statement of work for the vanilla implementation. Even if you are doing a vanilla ERP implementation, it's a simple document which lists the complete scope of work, wherein you can put your proposal here, you can have some forwards, and you can have what all things will be covering, you will be covering in each module, right? So it has a very, very comprehensive list. So if you are missing out on some specific feature, customer can't come back and say that we thought you would be doing it because we basically signed up for ERP Next and not for a specific feature, right? So again, in terms of avoiding escalations, have documentation in place always. Cool. And then what causes escalation? Again, we have discussed that point. It's generally the communication. So a very, very recent case study which we where one of our partner was really struggling, Ishan Technology. They are they are internet service providers based in India, and they needed a simple module of CRM, right? So just tell me, for the implementation of CRM solution, how much time would you take? 1 month? How much time would be sufficient? A few days would be sufficient. Anyone else? 2 months? Everyone agree 1 month mein ho jaye, 1 month sufficient? This project went on for 6 months and they didn't go live. 6 months, right? Just imagine a simple CRM module. And what was the problem? There was a sponsor who sponsored the project and he was completely out of picture. There was a project champion and users. Now our partner is basically doing hard work. They are doing they are kind of doing everything to convince the customer. They understand the requirement, develop the feature, go to team, requirement changes. They redevelop the customization, again go, and there's some new feature requirement. They'll develop that also, right? And they again go and something else come up. And this has been going on for like 3-4 months. And the sponsor is completely out of picture, traveling somewhere else in the world, and project manager is not aligned. I don't know it's a change management problem or what problem, or requirement is not understood. But the simple CRM solution, 6 months, no go live. Imagine eventually partner had to give refund, but imagine the amount of investment which was already made, right? Because sponsors were not keep in loop. And when sponsors saw after 6 months that whatever I have paid for and what I am getting, and my users are not happy, the project collapsed like house of cards, because you have to basically put your point across on timely basis. You have to send weekly reports. You have to keep your users and also sponsors updated. Understand the persona at the customer end, right? Users are not decision makers. The sponsors, the business owners are decision makers. So they also have to be updated as to what is going on the project side. Please.
So just because this customer has a backstory, there was another partner who
Yeah.
had reached the final stage of taking up this project, but the partner said no. He was very upset with the partner. But I think in retrospect, that partner made a good decision.
Yeah, because he kind of somehow judged that customer is not clear with their requirement, and when customer is not clear with their requirement, they chose to walk, right? So he made a smart call, and the guy who took the project despite spending 6-7 months into the project couldn't win it because customer was not clear. Neither there was a clear communication between the partner and the business owner, I would say.
It's like a luck and probability. Sometimes customers come, they are asking for it.
Mhm.
But when you evaluate, they really don't need it. I don't think you get it. They want assistance, but realistically, they really don't need it. Very hard to go like that.
Mhm.
And it's not kind of one issue they're trying to solve.
Mhm. Yeah, because you are talking about ERP implementation. You're not talking about their problem. Probably their problem can be solved in much easier way, right? Maybe you need a separate octave or something like that. Yeah. So it has to be always problem driven, not product driven. So yeah, very rightly put.
The need, the band qualification, I think understanding the need helps. Because if somebody doesn't need something badly,
Cool. Thanks for adding that. So yeah, send the weekly updates to your different users at customers end. Review your users goal, review your sponsors goal. Sponsors goal will be very different than user goals. Users have to basically save their clicks, get the reports easily. Sponsors goal would be to get MIS dashboards and whatnot. Keep have internal reviews also, which I think mostly partner do, the daily weekly reviews, and keep delivering. Don't be in a mode where there's no delivery for a month or so. Keep do it in a sprint agile way and keep delivering and keep customer posted. And yeah, I think there is also this thing, automate everything including data clean. As a customer, let's say if I come to you that I have say data of 5 years, and I'll just give you the data then and do some magic, and that data should be there in my new ERP account also. What would you do? I'll give you data, don't worry. ChatGPT, I don't know if LLM models are smart enough to get the context. So if I tell you that I'll give you data of last 5 years, 5,000 transactions, you'll import it. So if I'm ready to pay, you will take it up. Okay. So why they shouldn't do it? Tell me. So experience is speaking something. And I would also basically caution you guys on this particular point. Again, because we have tried in C partner field, not Frappe field, partner field. So a story here, 2 stories actually. Sukhra's machine, very small company is somewhere in Mumbai. Young guy, 2nd generation, perfect fit, and they paid us for the implementation. And we are like, now okay, we have a project to be delivered. We had the person allocated. I think again it was Palkan, and we understood the requirement. We understood the data mapping. Okay, it was a vanilla implementation, no rocket science. So please give us master. We'll upload it and we'll get you live in, let's say, matter of 2 weeks, right? Forget about being live in 2 weeks. 4 months he was absent, right? So because they didn't have the data in right place, right? Because if customer is using Excel, there is so much duplication at their end, if they are using Tally, again Tally doesn't have control. Anyone can go to chart of account and create accounting ledgers and whatnot. Tally doesn't have any control. I mean, anyone can do adjustment entries, anyone can do out of the books entries and whatnot, right? So your data, if your customer data is completely messed up, right? No matter how good the product is and how dedicated you are in terms of implementing it, things won't fly, right? So when you make a commitment, you have to get the commitment from the customer that source data and the masters and everything, opening balances is your responsibility. If you don't do it, this is the time window which is given to you. If not, then we'll proceed to the next step, and whatever it is, we'll proceed. We'll start conducting with sample data and whatnot. But you have to basically set the accountability right. Okay, customer is always right; they are important, but it's a marriage, like we say, both sides has to play their role. And yeah, in terms of 5 years data, I've seen one project. Again, they were ready to pay; they paid also, right? 1 year went and not a single journal entry was migrated, because it's not about data; it's about context at the same time. I'll give you data, right, of journal entry and whatnot, but that data will be so scrappy that I have 1 accounting ledger, but legacy software itself had 10 accounting ledgers for that same purpose. What would you do? Would you go on creating 10 accounting ledgers in the chart of account in ERP Next? For the sake of ERP Next, please don't do that. Right? So with data, context is very important, right? So always put ownership of data on customers very explicitly, that okay, we'll do the implementation, but you own the data. In fact, in that interest, if customer tells and comes and tell you that I'm not able to submit that entry, please submit it. What would you do? I'm not able to submit that sales invoice, I'm out, something has happened, the internet has gone down. Please submit that entry from backend. Come on, I mean, it's just submission, right? You can easily do submission. Why? He is giving you authority, no? He is entitled to submit. It's for the very reason that customer owns data. If it's their transaction, you know, whatever approval they have to do it. It's not about clicking a button. It's about making a commitment to someone else, to the customer, right? And we are not entitled to make that commitment, right? So never play with the customer's data, right? Every time basically we do fix, we ensure that we also basically patch the data so that data is basically in a form customer expects. So that's very, very crucial, and that's why upgrades with new feature also has lots of patches, because we also correct the data as per the requirement.
Another thing which we saw with the data is the structure. So you're migrating from one legacy to the new. The structure sometimes completely different. I'm like map.
Yeah.
Which one goes where, which one goes where.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to do it with the customer. You have to basically sit with the people of the customer who understand the data, and you know, I mean, the masters like customer group, item group, supplier group, warehouses, chart of account itself, so crucial. I mean, unless you have that master data in place, you can't build MIS on top of it. You know, because MIS what? I mean, it's the transaction is culmination of master data. If your master data is scrappy, your transaction data will be, you know, there's a term called GIGO, which is garbage in, garbage out. Generally, in the case of 80% ERP implementation, it's a GIGO project. You take data, garbage data from Excel, and then you migrate it into ERP next, or ERP generally, in general, right? But if you basically identify what are the goals, MIS goals you are trying to achieve, you know, with implementation, then you'll ensure that your master data is healthy, you know, and then restructuring with customer will become very obvious point. Nice.
Because they have been in place for the implementation. Then they feel they help us. Then if it's restructuring, it's more restructuring.
Yeah.
Because sometimes customers come and say, we have this system, will you help us extract the data because we are taking off. No, give them the help.
Yeah. Very, very cool. Cool.
For masters in the AD batch for transactions, it's not that. Actually, the cut-off point is very critical on the project tells. Volumes of the backlog that we need to manage. If it's too high, just tell the client, wait until the end of the start a new financial year, and then start fresh. Keep whatever you've been doing for the last month. The rest of your life, in the past, keep it to manage it.
Yeah, in that case, you can say that, okay, for accounting, we can go live from, let's say, this particular transaction, but you can still give them, say, sales order, purchase order, some of the transaction which doesn't impact accounting. You can actually help them go live with that, with that solution. Accounting, you can basically have a cutoff date and then migrate with proper opening balance and everything. Right? So, but at the same time, no need to completely, you know, hold complete go live. You can help customer go live with something. Always look for the opportunities to how we can help customer start, you know, using something. Then once you have this data migrated and everything, you have to keep getting sign-offs at each point of time, right? Training is very important. I think there is one case of a custom company in Mumbai where Frappe is located. They tried 2 ERP implementations and failed, right? All they needed was actually we going on site for 2-3 days, redoing implementation, and then they, I think, used ERP for like 5-10 years. 10 years, I think, you know, and there are 2 case studies like that. Prior attempts failed, next attempt worked like smooth. It's not just about basically product. You have to basically give it in a local language. The person on the other side has to, you know, get the confidence. Okay, there are guys on the other side, you know, I can rely on. So change management kind of eases out in that particular case. And you have to keep getting sign off, please not just on email, but yeah, properly in system. You have to give go live support, pretty much part of what training and, you know, it takes. And very quickly I'll summarize. Most of the project or business owners, also partners, we see that they are mostly involved in the project execution, right? Uh, and another question which we ask partners is basically how do you track projects in support? Projects is somewhere in Excel, support is on WhatsApp, right? That's the state of affairs. Most of the partners, support is happening over WhatsApp groups, and project is happening somewhere in Excel, right? So if that's the state of your processes, please get ready for the PMM audit. We'll be making raid in your office properly, right, and auditing your processes and then giving you proper NCs, which can also later on impact your partnership listing, right? So we are pretty serious about the processes that way, and we have a bragging right to do that because we have implemented it internally. In Frappe, every week we do a matrix review as to how support team is doing. Are they meeting deadlines? Are customers happy? What are the what is the uptime of Frappe Cloud? Then how's revenue team performing, right? And we are able to do that because we have tools in place, right? We use our own support module, project module, and whatnot. So we have some metrics. We'll share that when you become a bronze partner. That's where it kicks in. But some of the things, this is what actually partners who are on Excel have implemented. It's anonymous, but I'm just kind of making it for the sake of, as an impression that people, our partners have done it, and we visit partners. We just don't, of course, discuss the audits, but we understand the partners, what is the ecosystem, what is the pricing model, what are we doing wrong as Frappe, and it has been, I think, very learning experience. All of this is actually coming from the learnings, right? So we would love to be at your doorsteps sometime once you become a bronze partner. So this is it from me, and I think I was almost on time, but sorry if I exceeded. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to take. Okay. Yeah, just maybe 1 to 2 questions if anyone has any energy left. Okay, let me take that question first. Yes, please. Okay.
So how do you handle this?
Yeah, so we generally suggest that you should update opening balances, stock opening balances and account opening balances in the new implementation. Historical data, if you want, you can do in the same ERP Next site or a separate ERP Next site, just for the sake of keeping the data in one place. But that old data shouldn't become a blocker for you going live. So for the implementation and taking the production side of the customer, you should just update the opening balances and take them live. Never rely on historical data for that. Historical data, keep it in a separate site. Two systems, or maybe in the same ERP Next site, you can create a separate company and put historical data in that company. Okay, but never do it in a same production company site. You'll thank me later on for that.
They want you to import everything and show them, compare your system with their existing system. So you cannot leave that. If you show them with the Sankhe data, they don't accept. They think that the system is not working.
I'm saying do that. Firstly, separate two things. Legacy data is a separate project itself, and taking customer live on ERP Next is a separate project. For taking customer live, just update opening balances and take them live on ERP Next. Legacy data, create a separate company and keep updating legacy data there. Okay?
Ideally, we don't recommend migrating historical data. It's usually a very tough, most projects don't succeed in that. And the why is also very clear. It's only needed for reporting.
Yeah.
We can have one user license on the older system and continue to pay for MIS as one user left, using one user left. Then they understand the reason is migrating typically is a challenge. So if you recommend, pick the right user license.
Cool? Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is not a question. This is just I want to know something. So is there any possibility to add those pricing tools and there's the compliances you want us to maintain, to add on our PRM. Because as you already maintain leads, converted leads to become a customer, so already there is a feature there.
Yeah, partner lead you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the PRM, so is there any possibility to add these tools there so that we can use all the tools and?
Sure. Yeah. I think partner project estimation was already there as a part of PRM, but the people were not really aware about it, and it was exclusively for the partners. So we can I think have the price estimation tool in PRM also, if you ask for. But you can we actually made it for community. Anyone in the community can use it. So by the time we have it, you can actually install it in your ERP next site and use it. Okay. I think T is waiting outside. So
I have just one question, last one. Yeah, actually it's you. I forgot to ask you. So developing the graphics and the visibility materials. Okay, so it's challenging for the new partners mostly, and I mean getting the new idea that they have already shown that we do some we ask to the ChatGPT and other tools that create some graphics for us. So then they gave us those regular taglines. So what if like you have some templates, templates, all of us, we will be aligned and we just change our logos over there and our contact details and we share with our,
Already in the plan, we are planning to ship fresh content for our partners to utilize for their own channels, where you can add your logo and utilize the existing material. In fact, the new ERP Next website is just 1 week away. The new ERP Next website will have a resources section where you will have all the resources, comparisons, case studies, white papers, a lot of in your region.
That's fine. Thank you.
let's proceed for T. Thank you.